Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Hail and howdy, everybody. Welcome back to what is most likely the final Doctor Who Cares reviews, because ding dong, Shooty's dead. He's not really dead, but Shooty Who? He's done. He's over. He regenerated into... We don't even know. We don't even know, because they were ambiguous in the ending credits. We'll get to that. Dermy, are you dead inside?
Oh, I've been dead inside, but to be honest, I said it in my review, I said it on Twitter, and I'll say it again. Fuck RTD. I'm already dropping the F-bombs 1 minute in. I don't give a shit. Fuck RTD. Fuck the BBC. And you know what? Fuck Disney, even though Disney's not fully hands-on on this one. Still, fuck them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Disney may have not had influence, but their money allowed this shit to happen.
Yeah.
Without that money, it wouldn't have happened. Without that money. I don't think so. Jed,
well,
it's over.
Oh, it's over, and that makes me very happy. I'm actually in a better state right now that it's over than I have in the entire run of this season. But whether or not Disney had involvement in this season, it's definitely the case that Russell was taking cues from how Disney normally conducts business and writes creative things. Because the end of this episode was just WandaVision. He watched WandaVision and a little Multiverse of Madness. Is like, Wanda's such a good person. No one understands her. Let's do that again. And yeah, he definitely was trying to craft a product for Disney. And as he famously said, to generate content. This isn't a story anymore. This isn't a great character that he wants to give people and tell great stories. He wants to generate content. He even admitted that himself. And so he tried his best to imitate Disney Plus content. As we've recently found out with the admissions of the Andor showrunner, Disney themselves believe that streaming is dead. So I don't think they give a shit how well he did generating content for them in their image. It's pointless.
Remember, it never once showed up on Summit TV. It never once showed up on Nielsen data. Acolyte did on both of those things. And you can have a stand come out.
Different reasons Acolyte showed up.
Different reasons. But you can have stands come out here and say, well, Disney says it's top 10. It's number one. It's everybody's watching it. That's always marketing. It doesn't really matter. They're just trying to get people to click on it. And guess what? Nobody's clicking on it.
And that's something that must be definitely brought up and discussed. And we'll discuss as we go further in, because with the end of it, there's been a definite lamenting of a certain section of the stand base that are crying, he deserved better. Shit, he deserved more. What do we do? And later on, once we're through talking about it, we will dissect what's going on, because it is fascinating as we end this historically disastrous run of Doctor Who. The stands are divided. They're all angry, but angry for different reasons.
It's glorious.
It is glorious. It's funny. Yesterday, I got blocked by 3 separate types of stands yesterday. I just boom, boom, boom. They all blocked me very quickly for what I said. So I got back into the old groove of just pissing them off at the right moment. Anyway, so though, tonight we will be discussing the reality war. I'm going to ask you this question right away. What war happened?
What reality was breaking?
I don't know.
Yeah, the title doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense. What was the reality war?
Well, as we found out, the breaking of reality that we saw at the end of Wish World was only to thin out time enough to bring Omega through the portal. When Omega was actually brought through, reality is still intact. The whole falling apart thing didn't actually happen. So it was make portal for Bone Baby disagreement.
I think it was essentially so, because if I'm going to use the logic that was put in here, that for some reason the time hotel lady knew all this, even though
because that was static and outside of time and space.
Yeah. That I shit you not, she somehow knew this. The Ronnie was redoing May the 23rd or 24th, whatever.
You know how she knew?
What day it was.
Unstated because of the boss.
Exactly.
That's how she
But she kept doing it over and over again because she wanted to peer into the Underverse to try to locate Omega to pull him out that way. So that's why she wanted reality to break, but then would just put reality back to get. You know what? I don't even want to try it any harder.
Yeah, don't. You're only gonna hurt yourself. I mean, Jed, one question we asked over and over again while in the days leading up to it, or in the days leading up to today, when we discuss this over and over again, how many things went unanswered in this episode?
I think it would be easier to say what got answers.
Okay,
that is a much more manageable list, because the only thing I can think of is by regeneration, which explicitly contradicts. It explicitly contradicts, though, a previous explanation for by regeneration. I actually had to have this pointed out to me by Stan. I believe it was in Shooty's first full episode, but it was an episode with in season 1 with Ruby, where he specifically talks about by regeneration, and he says, "It is the tearing apart of a soul. I don't know if I can go through that again."
You're right.
He talks about by regeneration being a damaging, disastrous, and just an obstacle that he could never overcome again. It was a one-time thing because of the toy maker, ripped his soul in half. And this one, it's like, oh yeah, we all by regenerate now, and it's how sterile Time Lords have babies now, which is just asinine. Ridiculous. If that were the case, if you wanted to go with that logic and say the subsequent ones are the children, then Shooty's not the doctor. He's the child of the doctor, and the Ronnie should be subservient to the original Ronnie. Mrs. Flood should be the one in charge because she's the mother. Yep. She's teaching baby Ronnie. It's all contradictory.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
He forgets his own lore half the time. He forgot that he says there's only one TARDIS in existence. Yeah. He literally had the TARDIS have a baby at the end of the 60th anniversary. He split the TARDIS in half. He forgot that. We can go into more of the lore with all the other stuff that happened in the Chibnall and Moffat era to say that there are more TARDISes still out there. But just in his own era, in just the last season, he forgot his own lore.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And that is also, like, I'm the last of the Time Lords. No, 14. If we're playing by their rules, 14 is out there.
Yeah.
And he just sat by this entire time and did jack all.
14 should, like, even if you play by their own rules. So RTD at one point in time tried to say that once you by generate, you're essentially going into a different timeline, but then you see what the Ronnie ended up doing. So no, Tenet should still be out there. He should be able to come in and save the day, but no, they
Jason
don't want to
Noble
do that.
Was still there.
Well, no, that's only because, you know.
No. What I mean is that's part of his timeline. So
well, that's true. That's true.
So
but at the
Jason
same time,
Noble comes home, sees 14's like, "Hey, 14, the universe nearly destroyed again. You want to get off the couch?"
That's also true. But you also forgot
that 14 remembers that he's actually Doctor Who and says, "Shut up, tranny."
Well, yeah, that too. And also you have to remember that nobody remembered Jason Noble. So, you know, like Conrad couldn't even think of Jason
Noble. That was so but what was the point of Jason Noble? It felt the same way with the wheelchair lady. They were there specifically to be like, diversity quota. It's never been more blatant that these are diversity quotas. She's like, "I'm gonna go save the world." Does nothing. Everyone seems to be glossing over that Kate has chipped all of UNIT employees in some dystopian nightmare, and everyone's just like, "Yeah, we're chipped by UNIT." So
like
what?
Dogs, but that there's only a 10-mile radius.
She low-jacked everybody, dude.
There's only a 10-mile radius.
Yeah, why is there a 10-mile radius? We have tracking technology that's that small that works at a greater distance.
And go ahead.
The reason she said that they chipped the UNIT employees is in case something bad happens out on like their missions and stuff. So, but if you only have a 10-mile radius, how the fuck can you track them on your mission?
I don't know.
Velix is useless. Even the stands hate that dude. So yeah, he should be able to track them farther away, if nothing else.
Now, I just want to stop real quick because we dug right in. Hail and howdy, everybody in the chats. We see you guys here. Thank you for joining us tonight. We know a lot of you have been with us since we started this. We hope you're having a good time. Best way to do that, hit that like button, guys. Hit that like button. Subscribe to everybody's channels. Okay, now.
Well, and everyone, please go subscribe to The Renaissance Nerd. We are in the push to his 4K mark. We are very, very close. What is it? 40 subs last? 30. So, yeah, between Dermy and my channel, if our mods can drop those links, we can get at them there pretty closely, I believe, with just who's watching.
Try to get there this month. I'm not being greedy. I'm saying let's get there in June. I'm not going to be greedy.
I think we can get you a lot closer just tonight. But.
By the way, Static, you're a mod now, so you and Legatus can just drop those links whenever over on my channel.
Yeah, I made Static a mod, unfortunately.
I forgot to make Static. I've been needing to.
Well, when I started playing Expedition 33, I needed to make sure I had somebody there who understood. Don't spoil this shit. So he was running cover in case some asshole came in and tried to spoil the big things going on in that. Anyway, okay, so one other thing that I didn't notice this because I had already forgotten from Wish World. Apparently, they couldn't even keep track of Mel's storyline in this. So
in back-to-back episodes, yeah.
In Wish, and Russell T Davies wrote both episodes. He wrote both episodes. She's married she's single in the first one, and then when she gets her memory back, and suddenly she's got her classic perm again. How that happened? What the helmet?
That was very fast. That you're telling me she hopped on her moped, went to the salon, and got the perm,
and rode the moped up the elevator, up the stairs into Unit Central HQ.
Mel was never a great character, in my opinion. She's one of the lower list of classic companions because of that high pitched voice. Even like a time in the Ronnie where the Ronnie episode that she's in, it's just ridiculous hearing her voice all the time. Yeah. And yet they still managed to do damage to her. They brought one of the most unlikable classic companions and ruined her. What is the point she serves? When was the last time she did anything of value? Even in Empire of Death, which she was in quite a bit of, she just kind of walked around with Ruby.
Well, the last time she did something actually important was back in The Giggle when she said la 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 la.
I want to say this though. Jed, you rewatched the Ronnie episodes before this stuff, right?
I did, just to refresh myself, yeah.
And one of your biggest beefs was how wrong they portrayed DEI Ronnie and Mrs. Flood Ronnie in all of this. And I saw a meme today as I was just going around enjoying another victory lap on the death of the show. When Mel says, I faced the Ronnie before. First of all, that dialogue back was so freaking cringe.
It was really bad, yeah.
Cringe. I saw the meme. Her facing Ronnie before looked like she got trapped in a force field, and that was it.
Yeah, their interactions were slight at best. The majority of the episode, so yeah, Sylvester McCoy, that's his first episode. He's regenerated from Colin Baker, Colin Baker didn't actually show up to his own regeneration scene, so it's just Sylvester McCoy in a blonde afro during the regeneration scene playing the previous Doctor. But he has his memory wiped by the Ronnie to a certain extent, and she pretends to be Mel. So the Ronnie's wearing a big red wig, trying to talk in a high-pitched voice, and that's how they spend a lot of their dynamic while Mel is out there in this kind of a minefield, basically a minefield, trying to get to the Doctor and explain what's going on. And he's been told that she's actually the Ronnie, and that's how most of that story takes place with Mel. And yeah, their interactions, I can think of maybe one or two scenes, not enough to say that I fought you. It's like I saw you. It would be more I saw you once.
And you scarred my memories.
I mean, the way she says it in this, like we were mortal enemies fighting to the bitter end. No, apparently not. Apparently not. And you can't even if you can't get your continuity right from one episode to another, you're not going to get it right going back.
Oh, it's a classic. Years. Well, I just want to compare this to the end of season 4 when Sarah Jane Smith is in the episode and she just hears Davros's voice saying, no, it can't be. And that just hit so hard because she was there at the genesis of the Daleks. She was in that one of the most iconic episodes of Classic Who, where she saw the Daleks created, and she knows how much damage Davros created, and it's just done so well. She actually had interactions, like he recognized her, and that is done infinitely better, written by the same man.
Yeah, that is something that we're gonna. Honestly, we're probably gonna study this.
Remember Sarah Jane. Just remember her.
That's a real companion.
R.I.P.
Yeah. A real companion. But that's one of the things. We're going to study for, I think, years after this, RTD, Russell T. Davies, and dissect how can you go from resurrecting this in 2005 and giving out some of the best science fiction television ever made, to now in 2024, 2025, delivering some of the worst science fiction ever.
Well,
And from the stands,
Mhm.
the stands. Again, we'll come back to more of this later. Terminology I've heard is, yeah, this is what happens when he's off the leash. He was on the leash during his first run. A lot more control, a lot more oversight, and
that's
because
what I was
of
gonna say.
I think because of the way it was structured now, he had zero oversight in this. He had no oversight. He did whatever he
Well,
wanted.
so correct me if I'm wrong, Jed. I'm doing this a lot off of memory. If the rights for Doctor Who are a little bit up in the air, like who owns exactly what pieces and parts, but if I remember right, Bad Wolf, which is Russell T Davies'
Yes.
actual company, came in and purchased a large part of the actual like ownership to Doctor Who.
With Sony's money.
Yeah, with
No,
Sony's money, right?
so the way this works is
Okay.
there have been reports for decades now that the BBC doesn't own the Daleks. That's been a thing going on for a while, and they had to be used every season or every year so that the BBC
So they
could
didn't
retain
do
the
it
rights
this
to them.
time.
Russell T Davies came out and said that's never been true. He doesn't
Mhm.
know where that lie came from. So that's the only thing where the rights are a little bit iffy. What happened is the BBC still retains full copyright, full trademark, full rights over the franchise Doctor Who, but it optioned out the production rights to Bad Wolf, and then afterwards Bad Wolf was purchased by Sony. So Bad Wolf doesn't actually have any rights. It has a contract with the BBC and then a two-way contract with Disney to help fund it and put it on the platform. Disney only purchased distribution rights. They did not purchase
Creative
production
control.
rights. So yeah, Disney still owns it in totality, with the exception of that iffy Dalek thing. And and the Bad Wolf contract, I don't know the details of it. I don't think those have been made public, and there's no time on how long they have those production rights and if those expire at some point. I think the BBC can yank those away at any time, though. That's normally the thing that you might see here, is that they
Now,
retain the right to take them back.
I am going to believe RTD on the Dalek thing, what he said, because there were no Daleks for 2 seasons in a row.
Oh, there have been glimpses of Daleks, so they're wondering if that counts. Like, there were Daleks in this episode, but it was reused footage from the
but
third
that was
Doctor.
from the third Doctor. Yeah, that was from the third Doctor.
Still, if that is the case, that might count. And there have been other things, like the 14th Doctor. There was that Children in Need special that he met Davros and saw the Daleks, and it's always been a little bit murky what the requirements for those are, because it's never been just the season, because there have been seasons where the Daleks don't show up in the season, but they show up in the Christmas specials. Like, that's what happened during the Jodie Whittaker eras. The Daleks were just around at the New Year's special, because you can't have Christmas specials in Chibnall's era, but we're never in the actual season. So it's complicated. We don't know what's true. There's a lot of misdirection going on. I believe that there's some stuff going on, because what Legatus is talking about in the chat, we've heard it from other people besides the Terry Nation owning the rights, so it's murky at best, but that's the only rights dispute.
And well, the only reason I brought that up was to try to also back up what Adam was saying was, and I didn't really need to do that per se, because I also could have shown last time you had Stephen Moffat and a few other writers assisting RTD the entire time. This was when RTD was just fully at his power.
Or
everybody that he had around,
degenerate queerdos.
The BBC gave him full control. Like, going to Bad Wolf Studios rather than BBC Studios, they virtually gave him free reign. So there's very little BBC oversight, and the producers are mainly his own people. Like, the producer who was originally with him in the revival came over. I can't remember his name right now. Trainer, I think. And he's with Bad Wolf Production. So the main producers are Bad Wolf people, even if they used to be BBC people. So the oversight is minimal at best.
I think it's zero. It reeks of zero. Because, I mean, first of all, in terms of what they're actually making is so out of touch with the show. At the same time, we've already talked about it a little bit. There are continuity errors all over the place.
It's rampant. And I'm thinking that at this point, because it's unequivocally, it's undeniable the ratings are bad, the reception to this is bad, that the BBC might try to throw Russell under the bus and say, hey, we tried something new, we let someone else make it. Now we're coming in as the saviors, like a full Bob Chibnall
Bob
too many
Chapek.
Chibnalls, Bob Chapek and Bob Iger situation where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you this other guy fucked it up. Now let me save it for you, even though you started the fuck up yourselves. So I can see that happening. Is that Disney probably won't say anything about it because they don't give a flying fuck about this franchise or the show. But I can see the BBC kind of throwing RTD under the bus and say, hey, we're getting the rights back. We're doing it ourselves. Production is moving back to BBC.
But
I see that happening. But it's still, we're technically in Wilderness Years Part 2. We're technically in another Wilderness Years. So whatever they do, it might not matter.
Let's talk about that at the end, because let's talk about the actual episode. We've dodged around it enough. We touched on it. It begins. Don't make me play the clip. I'll play it.
Jed, I'll take down your channel along with his and mine.
So we pick up exactly where we left off, and I was right in one aspect. Shooty had to have his ass saved by somebody else. Except it wasn't Ruby, it was a pregnant woman. So Time Hotel chick from Joy to the World pulls his gay ass into the Time Hotel to save him. And after some stupid shit back and forth, where, as we said before, we learned that she used the time door to spy on past incarnations of him, looking for him, because she apparently was in love with him.
Which that came out of nowhere.
She was the best character in all of Shooty Who, I think. In Joy to the World. In this, she's irrelevant.
She's there to hold the door open while being pregnant.
Which, I have the master key, so I make doors out of thin air now. That contradicts the Joy to the World stuff, is there had to be a door to connect with. Even if you had the master key, you still need to connect to a real door. Now she just magics them.
Power of the boss. So
I think the boss might be Rassilon. I know that's a weird one out there, but he was banished from Gallifrey in the Capaldi era, so he wouldn't have been there.
You want to know who I think the boss is? I think the boss is nobody, because I don't think they actually have a plan and they're just saying shit.
That's probably the most accurate one. Yeah, that probably is the one that makes this most sense.
Anyway, so she saves him, and then of course he decides to use her as the conduit to bring everybody's memories back. But we have to he has to go back to the house he's sharing with Belligerent in the Wish. And did anybody else find it weird that while he's explaining Poppy to her, when she says, "Is she not real?" he freaks out, "No, she's real. No, she's real." He gets really angry.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to strike her.
Yeah, he's like finger in her face angry. I was like, whoa.
So I don't like fucking defending this show. Don't make me do it. But this is how after seeing what the show gave us, I would say that is probably him reacting to, even though this doesn't make any sense within actual Doctor Who lore, he's reacting to the fact that he has a daughter now. And because of what they've established, he doesn't actually have kids and he's sterile, blah, blah, blah. So he has a daughter and he wants her to be real, even though he knows that she's not real. So that's kind of how I headcanon that. And I hate fucking doing that shit.
Well, if you have to headcanon it, then it's not real.
Well, I have to headcanon it because you have to go with what they gave you, even though what they gave you is shit and contradictory to even actual Doctor Who lore. And you can just go to Google searches tell you that this is bullshit.
I just want to point out that the Poppy relationship was reset every day. The Doctor's mind, along with everybody else on Earth, was reset every day. So he literally only has memory of a relationship with her for one day.
He was there one day. They made that clear that was the only time he was there, and it was going to push reality over the edge.
And this is full WandaVision, where those kids, they only existed for a couple days, and she made them up, and then when the wish disappears, the kids disappear. That's exactly what this is, and that is in no way a justification for it. Jeremy, I think you were talking about in the green room, might have been at the beginning of the stream, but you were talking about how it still makes sense that the Doctor would have a connection to this child, which is absolutely true. But you can't destroy or potentially destroy all of reality for a fake baby that you knew for a day. You feel sad about it. And that's a potential for a bittersweet ending, accepting that you had this relationship, but also accepting it wasn't real, so you shouldn't damage things to create it artificially. Again, it's still fake.
Yeah. It would be like the Doctor's daughter, that the episode where David Tennant technically has a daughter, but it's not technically his daughter, and he's kind of
Well,
against her for a while until he grows up to love her, and then he sees her die in front of him. He thinks she's actually dead, and it's bittersweet. And then you see that she's actually alive.
Well, and also if we go back
off
to
and do her
actual
own
lore,
stories.
there's a character named Susan who's his
Yeah.
biological granddaughter, at least she's supposed to be, which means at some point when he was William Hartnell, the first Doctor, he had a family.
Well, according to Shooty Who, he hasn't had children yet, so Susan doesn't exist yet, even though we have David Tennant saying to Donna, "I've been a father before, Donna." In that episode, in the Doctor's Daughter.
That was the actual Doctor.
Yeah.
Shooty's a clone.
But
that's true.
Just to further that point, I just because I was trying to get sources for my review because I wanted to bring this point up myself. A simple Google search and going to the actual Doctor Who wiki shows you that, he said that he has kids and he canonically has kids on multiple occasions. So even the wiki says that this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's a wiki right there. Yeah. Wikis are notorious stan hubs.
Yeah. Toast, don't worry. We are going to clarify that. We'll get there.
It is talked about in this episode. And I have thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's retarded. Anyway, so then he's going to be like, I'm going to get belligerent's memory back too. I'm going to go downstairs. And then he goes downstairs to poorly dramatic music. And I'll say this now because I don't want to say it again later. Murray Gold must have lost it since his golden times.
Or didn't give a shit.
Because everything he wrote for this season was over the top terrible. Had zero
we had to
power
have the
to
gay
it.
moment.
Anyway, so he goes downstairs, he drops the jacket of his pinstripe suit, and as the camera turns and he turns, suddenly he's in the skirt. And that's a skirt. Yes, he may be wearing pants on underneath, but he is wearing a full skirt.
You can't hide behind it. It's a kilt this time. It's unequivocally
it's attached it's a skirt.
It's gay is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a F you to the world they are living in right now, and I hate it.
He's like, what are you wearing? The future, babes.
Oh, my God. So just realize this. For his last adventure, Shooty Who is running around in a skirt the entire time. What happened to his
Jodie
uniform?
wasn't that feminine.
Jodie was never that feminine. She wore suits all the time, too. I saw a comic panel from apparently Jodie era comic book where she actually says our race is gender fluid. Gender is just a social construct we live by.
Which stands are using to say that she would never call Shooty the best male Doctor because sex doesn't matter to the 13th Doctor, to Jodie. So yeah, even the Jodie stands were mad about that.
We'll talk. Don't worry. We'll talk about the Jodie stands, the chin balls crew when we get to
I have one pulled up for a Jodie stand.
I'm not trying to call him out right now, okay? Because if those of you who watch my streams, you probably have heard of the L, who is, I'll say he's my stan, okay? Because he likes what's been going on, even though he's not super fond of it, but he likes it. He's a consumer. He came into my thing and said, you know what? Calling her Dr. Karen was mean. He liked her. And it's like, I want to bat you around, but you're nice to me and you come by. So
I don't have to be nice. She's Dr. Karen. She's duck face.
I like the L.
Retard face.
He's been on streams and stuff, but
anyway,
he's Dr. Karen 100%.
She's Dr. Karen. Anyway, so then he's gonna pull Belligerent and Poppy into the hotel where she's gonna get a sudden costume change as well, and then they're off to Unit. Meanwhile, the Ronnies are zeroing in on Omega, which they did use his correct pronunciation, Jed. So you have to look about that.
I mean, everyone pronounced it differently. The Ronnies had it right. Shooty said it wrong.
But then he said it right as well. He said it both ways during.
Oh, I only heard the wrong way.
No, he said Omega at one point too.
Okay,
he did.
I'm just calling it Omega because I don't give a fuck.
So then, the Ronnie will teleport after Shooty gets everybody's memories back, and we get. And I made this mistake when I was giving my review. I forgot it happened first. After, as we talked about it, after Kate turned on everybody's low jack, seriously, they have subdermal implants in their necks,
which is frightening and dystopian. And with the whole Kate Stewart is using child labor all the time at every opportunity, like everyone's memeing that for some reason Susan Triad is a year old, which actually also directly contradicts what we know in RTD's era, because all the Susans had real lives. One even had a daughter. Like they really went to the point of saying that these were real people, these Susan Triads or whatever. And so she's not a year old. She had a full life beforehand. But it is funny with the meme is, she's a year old. So of course Kate hired her. Yeah. Kate is a freaky dystopian woman with a full mecha battle tower in the center of London. She's ready to take over the world. Like, I would not be surprised if the war between the land and the sea is actually Kate like, my evil plan for world domination is here, and the sea's like, hey, you're gonna pollute the world, we're gonna fight you. That's what I see is happening.
My favorite thing,
the Sea Devils are actually good people.
My favorite thing is actually crippled chick, wheelchair chick. She had rocket.
Back to the Future skid marks.
That's what it's
Back to the Future skid marks.
Back to
not
Future
just
treads,
that,
man.
The other crippled chick.
And they don't even show it.
They just showed her going, pushing the button, and then they just the other cripple's like, wow, yay!
She looks so retarded.
It was so bad. And what did she contribute in the end, wheelchair lady? With that, I'm going to save the world.
She's played like, with a joystick.
She played with a joystick.
So everybody came back. Everybody gets there. We talked about Mel riding in on her scooter into the room. Like, what?
Oh, and Rose rematerializes because
and yes,
because but Jason rematerializes because Conrad could never have imagined a tranny. I'm sorry, I said that.
Even though last season they saw a tranny. I mean, last episode we saw a tranny.
But I do want to point out something here. Let's see if I can remember. Oh God. Oh yeah. Shooty talks about how Conrad put them in the most deplorable life possible, talking about nuclear families. There is an attack in this scene on nuclear families, on everything. He's like, this is the most horrible thing that can happen. I was a housewife. And it just spends several minutes talking about how horrible and oppressing this life has been for them in Wish World because they were living in a nuclear family. And I don't know if you guys caught this. When he was mentioning the Underverse, the different versions of it throughout cultures, he mentions all negative ones. And then he mentions Narnia.
I heard that. Yep, I caught that.
I think he thinks Narnia is a hellscape because it's a Christian
Narnia
themed and an analogy.
Was like pseudo heaven. It was the testing grounds for heaven. That's what Narnia was. It's
and he would see that as hell.
Yeah. Because Jay Fraser for 50 British pounds hailed gents in Dermy.
That's right.
He re-edited classic serials, brought back the Ronnie, the Toymaker, Omega, Susan, and Mel to destroy their characters and triple down on the timeless children. Arguably, RTD has done more damage than Chris Chibnall. Hashtag RIP Doctor Who. I would say RTD brought it home. He brought home the destruction, is what he did.
I actually would have to probably agree with Jay Fraser here.
I mean, Chibnall laid the groundwork.
Yeah, the timeless children I still see as the worst thing to ever happen, but Shooty has a lot more consistent terrible things. Jody's was bland, nonsense. Timeless children, bland. Like
I mean, Jed, if you're right, if we had just been in the Jody, I mean, this was something we talked about way back when. If the Jody era had just ended without the timeless children, it would be one of those periods with Doctor where you could just ignore it and move on because nothing
you absolutely
happened.
Could.
But Chin Balls had to make the timeless children so you couldn't ignore it. And so there, you saw it. I replied to a particular post, said, I think we owe this man an apology to Chin Balls. And I said, no.
God, no.
He is as much responsible because without the timeless children, this doesn't happen. Now, RTD, Jay Fraser's right. He made it worse because he legitimized it. And he then fully turned Doctor Who into an agenda vehicle.
I still have the position that it's a little bit worse with RTD because you're right. Everything you guys are saying is right. Like Chimbal completely destroyed Doctor Who, but what RTD did was the legitimization, and people used to view RTD like they put him on a pedestal. They loved that man and loved what he did, and he came back just to destroy that pedestal, dig the Doctor out of the grave that Chimbal put it in, just to violate it more.
He brings back Fugitive Doctor. He reinforces that. He reinforces the chin balls concept that William Hartnell is not the first Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I mean, Jay Fraser is pretty right that RTD is worse because he said, "Oh, I'm going to throw gasoline on this fire, and I'm going to make it worse, and I'm going to legitimize everything you did, 10 times worse."
I would definitely agree that RTD's the worst. A person might be the wrong word, but because he knew how to do it correctly. He had a legacy of doing it well. Chibnall never did. Yeah, he did like 2 stories in the Matt Smith era, and they both sucked. So it's not like he was destroying his own legacy. There's something even more vile about coming in and destroying your own legacy.
Actively doing it, happily doing it. Because how many times this season did we talk about the fact that our commentary was front and center in RTD's brain?
Hashtag RIP Doctor Who. You don't like any of the shows I've ever done. All you like is like Blink, fuck Blink, all that. Like he has routinely said just how much he hates the fact that we don't like his current work.
Yeah. So RTD, Chinball set the foundation. RTD legitimized it, made it worse, and like Jeff Fraser says in his follow comment here, he had a chance to fix it, and he willingly didn't. He willingly made it worse, and pissed on our faces and called it rain, and said, "Why don't you like it? Because you're pissing on us." That's
he
why.
Dug up that body and grabbed the Vaseline.
Yeah. So thank you, Jay Fraser, for the 50 British pounds.
To back up your point that you made about Jodie Whittaker, that we could skip her up until the Timeless Children, that's absolutely true, because so few things of actual Doctor Who were included in her era. We didn't get the Daleks until her New Year special. We didn't get other characters coming back. It wasn't nostalgia driven. As much as I think that era is awful, it didn't dredge from the past until the very end of it. The Power of the Doctor, with all the companions there in group therapy and like 7 classic Doctors, it's not that many, but a bunch of classic Doctors being there, that's a different conversation. But for the most part, it tried to be its own thing and didn't desecrate the past. There's virtually nothing in the RTD2 era that isn't nostalgia driven to take something you love, make it worse, and say, haha, I broke it now.
Midnight.
Yeah, you broke Midnight. And just even the tech that's used. I mean, I don't know if you guys caught it. Project Indigo. Do you guys remember what that is?
No.
Sounds familiar. I can't remember it off the top
So when Ruby got that teleporting backpack, they called it Project Indigo. And its design has changed a little bit, but it is the teleportation device that Martha used at the end of season 4 when she had the Osterhagen key when the Earth was stolen. That's what she was using to go to Germany to insert the Osterhagen key and blow up the Earth. Even just something like that he had to steal. Like, it's so nostalgia driven that it's intentional, I believe, just to make you, like you said, legitimize it even more. This era of Doctor Who, so his desecration is unavoidable.
To the very last scene.
He wanted, his whole job was to prey on your nostalgia, which I think makes him more vile. He wants to prey upon your actual care, your love, what you loved most about Doctor Who. He wants to take that and then grab that Vaseline. And I say that sort of jokingly, but legitimately, he despises everything he created and wanted to hurt you. That's why I think he's so much worse.
Yes. Now, talking about legitimizing, when the Ronnie shows up and she reveals her master plan to rebirth the Time Lords using Omega's DNA, which is already bullshit because he doesn't have DNA anymore.
He absolutely doesn't. In the universe of Antimatter, when he was first seen, they took off his helmet in the 3 Doctor special, and he literally has no body. He's the physical manifestation of his own stubborn willpower. That's all he is when we first see him. And that's pretty much every iteration we see of him in Classic Who is some variation of that, trying to get a body, trying to come back to our reality.
When he has a body, it's Doctor DNA, which is then already not clean because it's already been mucked with to house him. So no matter what point you say that he might have had DNA to take, it's not pure Time Lord DNA anymore.
Oh, absolutely not.
Well, I mean, let's be real fair here. We needed the Ronnie to become, Time Lord supremacist.
We did need that conversation about Poppy. She should have just gone, she's a wish baby. She's not a real baby.
She's tainted. She has human DNA. We're gods.
I'm surprised she didn't use the. Listen, there. All of this is subtext of, don't be mad at brown people. You're a racist if you are.
It's also very World War II. It wants to make you think of World War II stuff, but it also wants you to think of modern conflict in Palestine.
Which is so, like, everything about
it can't make up its mind.
It can't make its mind. Simultaneously, though, the brown Ronnie's the one who's somehow.
That's the funny part. One. That's the funny part. The brown Ronnie's the racist. Anyway, so she reveals her big plan, and then we get more about, and then the Poppy story begins, which is so. I hate that more than everything else. The whole Poppy storyline. I hate that the most because literally, in another, we are at this point. We're about 20 minutes in at this point. In another 15 minutes of this 10 hour, 20-minute episode, the threat will be done. It'll be over at 35 minutes into the episode. Because the doctor tricks the Ronnie. He gets her to use her screwdriver, and he uses his, and he downloads all her entry codes. And then, like Jed said, Kate goes to battle mode and turns Avengers Unit Tower into two giant cannons that start pew-pewing the bone dinosaurs who the Ronnies made attack the building. While Shooty Who's plan is to break down the shields so Ruby can go in and get God Baby from... Oh, we lost him. He's back again. And get God Baby from live-action Eric Conrad. While being nice to him.
Sexual harassment.
You're on the wrong microphone.
But yeah, the sexual harassment you're talking about is wild. Ronnie coming in there saying, I could put you on your side and eat olives off your dimples. What the fuck is that supposed to even mean?
I kind of glossed over that part because, like, I don't want to spend time on this. This is just,
it's sexual harassment, is what it is.
Yeah, she diddled him. I'm thinking in Wish World there was some diddling.
Neil, give us up. They had a boat wheel to turn the tower.
The tower is so ridiculous.
Hard to port.
You were saying it when my audio was acting up, but you only really have two angles to ever shoot from. Why didn't you ever put more cannons on? That's a very simple fix instead of a giant boat wheel.
The fucking boat wheel, and the dinosaurs are antibodies for the universe is the explanation we got. It was just contrived bullshit to have bone dinosaurs fight a skyscraper.
You're right. You're right.
What drug-induced fantasy was that in?
I don't know.
I mean, RTD's an old man. Did he take so much blue pill for Shooty that he got a drug-induced hallucination?
No, it was meth while he was Shooty. That's what it was.
No, it was poppers. All
right, moving on. Moving on. We cannot dwell on this. What I want to mark is as we now transition to the big confrontation in Bone Palace, was anybody else just rolling their eyes when Shooty summons the hover bike and gets on it, and instead of flying to the Bone Palace, decides to take a joyride through the bone dinosaurs while Mega Tower Zord is firing at the bone.
I have a theory.
He's retarded and gay.
Retarded and gay, but at the same time, he wants to show off what all this Disney money has given us. Look how
it looked like shit.
It did. It was just a close up on his face as he's going.
I think he was wanting to show off like the technology they have access to now. In reality, it's just it's overindulgent and awful.
And you know what his plan is? To crash through the window.
Well, my question is, in this episode, we're revealed that Ronnie has a short-range teleporter that gets her anywhere. Why does she have the scooter? What was she flying around doing in the previous episode?
Joyride, baby. Joyride.
That scooter just exists for Shooty to pick it up. If your teleporter can do it. That's the whole reason it exists. That's the whole reason the previous scene happened in the
Anyway, so Shooty breaks it down. Ruby teleports in. We get some very cringe dialogue where Ruby confronts Conrad and eventually
Conrad knew where she was gonna be when she teleported in and had a gun trained on her already.
Yeah.
Did you think I didn't know you were coming? Why would you think? I mean, point it at the door. Yeah, you can see someone's
And
coming.
let's
Sure,
remember, and we learn it later. That room is the TARDIS.
which just
I had so many
why?
problems with that. I didn't dwell on that in
There's
my
no
review.
point.
But it also, I have so many problems. The TARDIS would not obey the commands of the Ronnie.
Yeah, why did the TARDIS explode?
Why did the TARDIS explode?
When did
what
it
was the point of
explode?
that? What mattered in any of this? But yeah, when the Master stole the TARDIS at the end of season 2, do you see how much damage he had to do to it just to make it do what he wanted, turning it into a paradox machine? Like, he had to do a shit ton of work to the TARDIS to turn it to his will.
The TARDIS is a living entity.
Ronnie's just like parked it somewhere and it's like, hey, TARDIS, can you make the console room look like a bone nursery? Thanks, babes. It didn't do anything. What was it amplifying the baby's powers? We, like you just said, we knew that the Doctor was only in Wishworld for a single day, so Wishworld had existed in previous cycles.
We learned that, yeah.
So what were they using before the TARDIS if the TARDIS mattered in any way, shape, or form? Aren't you wondering where your TARDIS is?
Oh God! So we already touched on it. Judy's big confrontation with the Ronnies is, okay, I'm gonna let you do what you're gonna do.
Because he wants to see Omega. Aren't you curious? Yes.
Yes. And then they let it out, and like Jed said, it looks like the baby from Witcher 3 that was just rejected.
The botchling, yeah.
They Sutek'd a being with no body.
And then his big plan. I'm hungry, eat Time Lords.
He's just the planet from the episode where the TARDIS becomes a woman. The Doctor's wife.
So
the meteor.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
That
is it a meteor or is it a planet?
It was a planet.
I love that episode.
House. They call it House.
I love that episode. That's so much fun.
That is a good episode.
Oh, you are beautiful. Anyway, and then Omega just eats her, and she just goes, ah!
Because
and that's the end of D.I. Ronnie. That's the end.
And yeah, what was Ronnie's, like, this is not the Ronnie. The Ronnie would not have done this whole plan to bring the Time Lords back. She virtually doesn't give a shit about them. Like, when she first meets the Doctor in the show, I mean, she met him previously, she straight up says, I don't care about this conflict between you and the Master or anything else the Time Lords are doing. I just want to do my research. That's all she ever cared about. Well,
she's, Time Lord supremacist now, so that's why. But, Jed, you said last week that, Omega was kind of revered within Time Lord culture.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tragic individual, tragic hero or something like that. He gave them the ability to time travel. So why is he now a monstrous being that preys on Time Lords?
Because he gave it his own
legend. Yeah, he became the god of, what was it? He wants to be the god of time, but he was called the god of something else. Shooty called him the god of something else, and he said, I will be the god of time or some shit like that. Yeah, Omega was a very revered scientist, a regular time. I mean, he wasn't a Time Lord because that wasn't really a thing yet. He is the birthing of Time Lord society. So that term may or may not have existed when he was still around, but he was the solar engineer. He made the Eye of Harmony, essentially, to give Time Lords the power capabilities to build TARDISes and control time. And he died doing it, at least from Time Lord's perspective, from Gallifrey's perspective. And then he went insane for millennia in the antimatter universe. He's entirely tragic. And his body was degraded by millennia in the antimatter universe to where he was just the physical manifestation of will. So why is he a demon baby?
I don't know. I mean, like Jeff Fraser says, Rassilon was the other side of his political side, and if you go down the lore, Rassilon may or may not have betrayed him and stuff like that.
Yeah, and some of the expanded lore,
yeah, and then there's the other, which I still say they were trying to make Tectayun the other.
Yeah, I still see them eventually trying to build to that.
Yeah.
Well, like, the reason why I asked that question is because for Omega to become his lore, where he's kind of revered within Time Lord society, who was thinking that he was going to go around eating Time Lords?
Well, he's going to starve because there aren't any left.
Yeah, but that's the whole lore.
We forgot to mention it. We jumped so far ahead. During
Oh,
Ronnie's explanation, when he asks her, how did you survive what the Master did in Timeless Children? She says, I shifted myself by 1%, so it ignored me. And
But it still sterilized you.
but then apparently everybody was sterilized too, and bi-generation is the last-ditch effort for procreation.
And it's beautiful. It's having children. We're all the Doctor's children.
Yeah. Don't come near me,
Yeah,
Shooty.
take a Sarah Jane quote.
But yeah, it does make sense. So yeah, in the Timeless Children episode, it was revealed that the Master had somehow killed all Time Lords, and we never figured out how Jodie just showed up in the ruins of Arcadia on Gallifrey, and it's all burning, and she's like, "Oh, they're all dead. They're all dead," recreating the Last of the Time Lords thing. And in this one, they call it a genetic explosion. So it's a genetic bomb that targets Time Lord DNA that the Master made and kills all of them. Ronnie somehow survived, but we never find out why the Doctor was spared.
Well,
if it's about distance, Ronnie wasn't on Gallifrey. She was exiled as well.
We'll find that answer when we find out what fixed the flux.
Yeah. Well, and so yeah, and it sterilized the Doctor and the Ronnie because they survived.
Well, my understanding was the reason it killed all the Time Lords was because it just sterilized them. It was a gene bomb that just sterilized everybody, and they're slowly going extinct. That's why. Which I don't know.
And then there would be no guarantee that the whole species was wiped out or nearly even wiped out.
Yeah.
More poor story planning.
But Ronnie specifically says, I altered myself, like you said, and avoided the genetic explosion. So that means if the whole point of the genetic explosion was to sterilize everyone, she wouldn't be sterile, or she would have said, I got hit with it too, and now I'm sterile. She specifically says she's exempt from it, but then she's also sterile. Like he contradicts himself in his own episode where he's making up shit.
And when they say, why can't you two have kids? My first answer was, because he's gay.
Well, and she is a great scientist. She would be able to figure out why they're sterile, and if nothing else, clone people from them without the sterilization issue. She would figure out in vitro, like that. If she wanted to rebuild the Time Lord Society, she wouldn't try to resurrect Omega. She'd do her research.
You know what? It would also make sense to me if every time regeneration happens and literally every cell is rewritten, wouldn't a real regeneration, just fix it?
You think
it would fix sterilization or sterility, and fix it.
Listen. I'm going to take something that Neo Gear is saying in the comment section, but I'm going to twist it a little bit. Okay, it's something dark side.
Oh God.
Yeah, you bring the little laughter at me. I'm going to bring up the dark side. Dark side of the Force has weird powers. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, that's the explanation we have here. Literally, dark side of the Force has weird powers.
You're right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Anyway, so back to where we were. Ronnie gets eaten, and then if I only had a weapon, I do. So I call it triangulator. That's what I called in my reviews. The triangulator, which was just supposed to collect data, is suddenly, I called it a proton pack because he basically Ghostbuster gozers Omega back into the portal.
It's a gun.
He does mention, I think, when the Vindicator first showed up, that it has the power of 1 billion supernovas. So it was previously established that it had an insane amount of power for being a triangulator.
But collecting, he just flips it around and boom.
That would have been very helpful in the rest of the season when he was carrying those around. The Midnight Monster, I don't think it can take a hit like that.
No.
But just the idea of 1 billion supernovas, the amount of power that generates, human minds physically cannot comprehend that amount of energy. And the Eye of Harmony, or the supernova that Omega died creating, was 1. It takes 1 per TARDIS to power. If 1 supernova is enough to power the fucking TARDIS, why does it take 1 billion supernovas to make a beacon the TARDIS can see?
Because he needs a gun. You know this. The Doctor always uses guns.
Yeah,
that's what the Doctor's known for, is using a fucking gun. But forget the fact that RTD specifically changed the sonic screwdriver to look like a remote because objects that look like this look like guns.
No, it looks like a dildo, and that makes him horny. And that's why he can't look at it all the time.
That's probably more accurate. But that was his actual explanation. Again, for changing the sonic screwdriver to look like a butt plug now is because it looked too much like a gun beforehand, and he didn't like that. He didn't want to promote guns. So you give the doctor a gun. Something that he's definitely known for running around and using.
But then it's over, though.
Yeah,
it's over.
You could have had some interesting writing stuff. This is something I talk about a lot. Is I see potential for something, and with Omega having been essentially killed from Gallifrey's perspective when a supernova transported him to the universe of antimatter, connect that thematically to the Vindicator being powered by a supernova. You can have a thematic tie there. You can have it's poetry because it rhymes moment. It's just a billion supernovas.
And you know what we could have done? We could have actually had a doctor speech interacting with Omega.
Mm-hmm.
But Shooty is incapable of a doctor speech, or more accurate, RTD is now incapable of a doctor speech. But essentially, then it's over. Ruby steals God Baby, wishes Conrad to have a happy life, which ends up him being a chef in a small time pub, and then Shooty gets the baby and wishes all the wishes away.
Well, so real quick.
Oh, we forgot. I'm sorry, we forgot. I forgot it too when I was doing this. Remember, Belligerent, greatest companion ever, does nothing. She's locked in a room with Poppy.
All right, I go ahead.
Jed, you said this in the green room, which I think this actually gives you credence for. Not only did Ruby wish for Conrad to be happy, she made a second wish. Her second wish was to undo all the wishes. So then when the doctor makes a third wish, that actually goes more to Jed, what you said in the green room, that this ending was all tacked on at the last minute.
Mm-hmm. Because it was already accomplished. Poppy should have already faded away because of the second wish.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. It seems entirely written over. And the season seems like it was designed for Ruby. Everything thematically ties to her with Conrad as the villain, with Poppy having met Poppy before, having this whole story with her two mothers, basically, and her grandma about being a foundling, finding a child, raising a child, that family connection that thematically ties into Poppy even a little bit. So none of this makes sense for Belligerent.
And you say that. And also, it feels like there's something missing because suddenly when they're tying up all the loose ends, it suddenly feels like the way Belligerent and Ruby interacting that they've been besties for resties.
Yeah, they never met before Wishworld.
But Ruby, how you doing?
No, they literally never met before Wishworld because the episode with Ruby in it this season was a flashback from before the Doctor met Belligerent. So they never interacted before Wishworld. Did they interact in Wishworld? No, it was this episode.
This is it.
No, so they did.
No, they briefly on the doorstep.
They briefly interact when Belligerent is screaming, "You won't take my daughter away from me! I'll burn the world down for this figment of my imagination."
In this episode, yes, but in the last episode, Wishworld, there was the scene where Ruby came to the doorstep. It's like, you're the Doctor.
And then Belligerent called the Doubtful.
So that's the first time they saw each other.
Yeah,
but
except when she was Monday.
Yeah. And never mentions that. That was blown past in the first episode of this season.
I completely forgot that was a whole thing.
It mattered not at all. It was just, it's a descendant of yours. But I actually have a list here from a stan, and I find it so funny that this is from a stan. This is a list of what all the companions did at the end of their first season as the companion. Rose destroyed an entire Dalek empire. Martha, woman who walked the earth, reverse time. Donna saved all of fucking reality as the Dr. Donna. Amy brought the universe back, and she held the universe together and brought the Doctor back after the Pandora or the Big Bang Part 2.
Yeah,
and Rory defended Amy for 2,000 years. Clara fixed the Doctor's timeline. Not a great episode, but Clara doing that was pretty cool.
Impossible Girl.
Bill. Yeah, she's a terrible companion up until she gets shot in the chest. She fights alongside the Doctor as a Cyberman. That's at least something. Ruby, Trick, Sutek. We're skipping Jodie Whittaker because who gives a shit? And Belinda.
Those companions did nothing.
They did nothing. Belinda held a baby.
She wanted to go home.
No, in the finale is what I'm saying. What was the biggest thing that she accomplished in the finale compared to everyone else?
And the stands are actually angry about that. The Belinda
glorious.
stands are angry. They're so angry. Now, the rest of this episode is all about Poppy. The remaining 40 minutes of this disaster is about Poppy.
After we give the wish baby to
Ruby's foster
mom, which I think is one of the worst ideas ever. She's going to use that to wish more babies.
No, the wish is gone. These powered.
Yeah, Jody's. I mean, not Jody's. Shooty's wish made it so no more wishing could happen.
Yeah. So
they stole another plot line. That was what happened in fucking Wonder Woman 1984.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch that.
That's the plot, is no more wishes.
That's the plot for everything that ever revolves around wishes, is no more wishes.
That's true.
So then we have the reunion in the TARDIS. And suddenly Belligerent's going, I'm ready to travel the universe. What a turnaround.
Yeah, what about going home?
No, because now she has the baby. But then it's watching it slowly, this very obvious scene as they keep folding her jacket smaller and smaller till it's gone.
That could have been such a good fucking scene. It actually could have been.
No, I think that is the best scene in all of Shooty Who. It's not a great scene, but Millie Gibson is giving a performance.
Yeah.
I actually see her trying in that moment, realizing it, the horror in her eyes. And it is kind of an interesting concept with the jacket folding up more and more. Like, I think that is the closest thing to quality that we've seen in this entire run of RTD2.
But it's ruined with the zero explanation of why is Ruby the only one who remembers.
Yeah, which they still never explained.
We've talked about this repeatedly. If you're inside the TARDIS protects you from timeline changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that, because the Doctor should have known. He should have 100% known. And
I thought he did. I thought Shooty Who was playing along.
Well, he did wink.
He winked. That goes again to what you said in the green room.
I missed the wink.
That goes to what you said in the green room. There's a lot of stuff that was implying that Shooty knew what he just did there, wishing essentially away his daughter, which he didn't want to have it spilled out to Belinda because he knew that would have been tragic for Belinda. That would have been fucking good storytelling right there. And actually have a bittersweet ending and would have actually had some impact. But no, we can't
have stakes, some consequences.
Yeah. So,
this is why I personally believe that this was entirely rewritten when Disney refused to renew season 3. If you want to pull this up, this image here was the promotional image for this episode on the BBC iPlayer. Mm-hmm. Did this event happen in this episode in any way, shape, or form?
I remember seeing that. I'm like, wait a minute. I haven't seen this evidence at all.
So the leaks that I've heard say that the episode ended after Ruby realized that Poppy was gone. The Doctor kind of coyly let her know, I'm aware of this, but we have to protect Belinda. This is going to be too hard for her to understand, too hard to explain. Leave it there. They go out into unit, and there's a party with Vlinx as the DJ. For some reason, that's in there. And that's how it ends, is a party. And the cliffhanger for season 3 being, wait, what about Susan? And I think this fully supports that leak. And the whole rewrite happened after this to include, we got to save Poppy to write in an end to Shooty's era. It feels tacked on. Shooty even said, we're filming the next season later on this year.
Yeah. Well, no, he said that we're filming currently. And then the BBC had that all cut.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they were doing the reshoots then, and the BBC did not want to admit that they were doing reshoots. That's probably
he specifically mentioned the next season for season 3. He said we're currently filming right now, like you're talking about, admitting the research, but we're also filming season 3 next year. He specifically mentioned season 3 the next year.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Jake, we've had theories that a lot of this could have been made sense if they turned the clone, Shooty, into the Veil Yard. That could have explained the Veil Yard. But they're not that smart.
The Veil Yard was the best thing to come from the Colin Baker era. That era has a lot of issues, but the Veil Yard, the Trial of the Time Lord, I think it's pretty solid. I really like that arc, and I don't think we'll ever see the Veil Yard, though.
Not
Honestly, I don't even know if I want to.
I know.
By regeneration in a one-off instant could have explained it, because we don't actually want the Doctor to be the Valuard, but some spin-off.
That's why I never really liked it, because I didn't want to have to see the Doctor towards the end of his run become a villain. I didn't want that. But if we had to live with by regeneration, that could have made the Valuard an easy thing. Like, okay, there you go. There you go. Somebody who carries all the bad things with them. Because let's be honest, Shooty says he's carried all the good stuff. No, he carried all the bad stuff. He's all the bad stuff that came out of the Doctor. But as I said, now it's 40 minutes of Poppy. And we got Ruby, who's the only one that remembers, with zero explanation. And then
Cyan's also changed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say, we go back to Unit, and she starts pushing the reality, for lack of a better term, the reality matrix of why should we accept all these glitches? And if they're all glitches and I remember them as being previously real and you remember them as being previously different, then aren't I right that Poppy really existed? And
No.
it's just pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until
that's where you also,
go ahead.
You also get Kate
buying into it too. Yeah.
Buying into it. And then also saying, she says the Sarah Jane line. We're kind of all your children.
And it made sense in that one because it was more Davros saying, but it was a tongue in cheek, like the children of the Doctor, the ones who are affected by him, who he changes them from ordinary people into soldiers, and it breaks his heart. That actually meant something, and it was more metaphoric. This was trying to make it almost literal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the only way, and we'll talk about this more at the end because we're going to go a little longer. There might not be a Mill Mondays tonight because we're going to give this its due course here. The only way to save this is to rewrite the Timeless Children and go back to Capaldi and have all this been we have listed so many variations of what kind of fever dream nightmare this could have been. That's the only way to do it. But we'll talk more about that towards the end. That would have made so much sense. That would have made a lot of sense. But
yeah, the Time Lord Victorious, if it's going to be the Valuard, it would have to be a Time Lord Victorious entity or persona of the Doctor. But one way that I really like talking about it is, as much as I love the end of season 10 with the Master Misty stuff, I really like that speech about just be kind. I do what I do because it's right. All that stuff is great. I think a great place to put it is at the end of Heaven Sent, is that this is all a continuation of the confession dial torture. That because Hell Bent is a shitty fucking episode with Clara being a frozen in time traveler with fucking Ashilda. Just, it's all confession dial. It's an easy one. There's a lot of easy answers.
There are so many. I mean, I'll admit this. Yesterday, as I was doom scrolling, I kept coming across Capaldi moments. Man, that man could deliver a Doctor speech.
100%. He's the reason that whole season was good.
I saw. Last one I watched was the Go to Hell speech. It's so good. Go to hell.
Capaldi's the thing that saves Capaldi's era.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not the strongest, but he is giving it 110% every time.
Because he actually fucking cared.
Yeah,
he loved the Doctor.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just his speeches, because all of his speeches were, even in bad episodes, he fucking nailed them. Like a Scale Model of War is one of my favorites of his. But even in just single line deliveries at the end of season 9, when Clara thinks she's throwing the TARDIS keys into the lava, and he reveals that it was all in her head, a hallucination. He goes, do you think I cared for you so little that betraying me would make any difference?
That's the Go to Hell speech. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, that's just a small line.
Yeah.
Not even his full speech. And just every moment with him, he cared. Shooty, I don't think ever gave a flying fuck.
No. And you mentioned that, and you mentioned the key. I noticed this when I was editing, and I forgot to mention it in my review. How the hell does he have the TARDIS keys in his pocket?
Wouldn't Ronnie have taken them away when she?
No, prison wallet.
No, he pulls it out of his dress pocket.
Well, I know, but he had it in his prison wallet the entire time and then put it there.
Oh, God, Dermy, damn it. God damn it, Dermy.
That's the easiest way to fucking explain it. We know he's gay.
So there's room.
Seriously though, he pulls it out. He pulls the TARDIS key out. Now, of course, at that point in time, shouldn't need a key. Shouldn't need it. I love that moment. The first time Tennant turns on and goes
in silence of the library
and opens like when she says there's going to come a point you're not going to even need the key. Snap your fingers and it'll open for you. It's like and then of course Matt Smith does it. Capaldi does like yes. Of course, Shooty can't do it because he's a clone.
And that's
a clone TARDIS.
And it's a clone TARDIS. That's literally empty inside. We'll get to that. So now back to where Shooty's gonna go on his quest to save Poppy and shift time and space by 1 degree. But he doesn't know how to do it, guys. Well, he sort of has an idea. He's gonna go in there and he's going to pace around until the TARDIS starts showing him all the actual doctors and Jodie. And you notice how I said that.
Well, so that whole scene was so awkward. And considering I already had it spoiled, I knew what was happening. But if
I hadn't had it spoiled. I didn't know that was going to happen because as it's happening, he goes, I really was the best. I just paused and went, oh, fuck you. I yelled at my screen, fuck you. And then I unpaused. And then there she fucking is.
So I don't know if this makes it better or worse for you guys, but I have heard that when they filmed that scene, he knew that a previous Doctor was coming, but they kept it a secret from him.
I've heard that too.
That would make the whole line a little bit more.
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? At least you're not the other guy who always shows up. That feels even more disrespectful.
Yeah. Yep. So they bring back Jodie, and she is as insufferable and stupid as ever. And I can say that. I didn't watch all of Jodie. I just watched almost all of season 1. I tapped out towards the end when I realized what was happening. So I have enough experience to know that Jodie Whittaker's Doctor is one of the dumbest head running into, window licking, brick sniffing creatures ever. She's dumb. She's dumb. She solves no problems, only makes things worse.
She killed way more people. The Flux was a failure. That's the only thing that I haven't seen the entirety of the Flux. That's the only part of her era I haven't seen. But yeah, she helped she didn't prevent the destruction of the whole universe. Nope. And emotionally, she's got nothing in common with the Doctor. The best moment that sums up her era for me is Graham, who had the most potential to be a good companion, played by a good actor. Bradley Walsh is actually good in other stuff. He was previously in the Sarah Jane Adventures, actually. But he goes, hey, I found out I had a cancer diagnosis. I've been struggling with this, doctor. I just need to talk to someone about this. And she goes, well, I'm not really good at talking about feelings, so I'm going to walk over here. And she sidles along the console and just starts fiddling with stuff until he goes away.
Yeah, and
the doctor would never.
Then they're going to spend all their time with unrequited lesbian love for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimately, even
Jake Stanley, Jake Stanley, stay tuned at the end. We will fulfill your need for that. Don't worry.
But even when it came to Capaldi, who was they try to say he was the autistic one that didn't know how to speak about emotions and shit.
The cards were funny.
He would have done so much better.
I don't like the cards.
I found them funny.
I have a lot of problem with the Clara Doctor relationship.
Oh, well, at that point, Clara had long since overstayed her welcome.
Mm-hmm.
She'd been around for literally she's been around for long, almost as long as Amy had been around. She'd been around for the 50th, and it was too much Clara at that point, and that was a problem all on its own.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where it led to I'm Clara the Doctor, which is what led to her eventual fate and end. Because she thought she was a freaking Time Lord at that point.
Which I do like that being the end of her story. Face the Raven I do enjoy quite a bit just because, yeah, she flew too close to the sun. And they did build up to that. They did absolutely build up to that.
Anyway, so Jodie comes in and it's just insufferable. We have a concentration of gay and insufferable retardation in one moment. And I was just lolling my head back and forth. I almost couldn't take it.
You don't get how good it was. Look, we've got these reactions. screaming, crying, throwing up.
I'm throwing up.
I saw a comment like that with that same exact pair of pictures. This should have been the 60th anniversary.
God damn, no.
And I didn't reply, but I wanted to reply saying, oh, yeah, I'm actually on board. Would have burned this shit down even faster.
Yeah, and we don't want repeat doctors. Dr. 14 did a lot of damage to the lore.
Yes.
I don't want that to happen.
It
damaged
Tenet
Tenet.
Doctor.
And especially with Tenet, the only Doctor in all of Doctor Who that I think people could get behind being a new version is Paul McGann. He absolutely didn't get his run. Yeah. So if it was some way with that, like I think a miniseries of Paul McGann in the height of Doctor Who would have been fantastic. I would have loved a spin-off season just showing some more Paul McGann stuff because the short he did, Night of the Doctor, is absolutely fantastic. That 10-minute arc, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Have you guys seen it?
No. Long time ago.
Yeah. It's so good where he regenerates into John Hurt. And just in the first few moments, he shows up, he's the Doctor immediately, falls right back into the role. But yeah, if you did something like that where a future Doctor has Paul McGann's face, just to give Paul a chance the opportunity to really play the Doctor, fans can get behind that and get over the lump of like, why is he reusing? Yeah, it's absolutely reusing David Tennant. He was already one of the most beloved Doctor, top 2 most beloved Doctor with Tom Baker. You don't bring back your most popular Doctor. You bring back the one who had the most potential, who never got a chance to see that potential fulfilled.
And the problem with that, then you get Mavity. Now, because of that, we have Mavity. Fucking Mavity.
Well, they brought... I'm going to save it. I'm going to save what I'm going to say.
And you ruined Dr. Donna. They ruined everything
surrounding
the end of Terrence run. So we get now to this whole thing. She helps him, tells him to do this or that. And then even one line really bugged me. Wait a minute. I'm older than you. How did you know that? No, you're not. You're a fucking clone. And literally, as the Doctor, Shudi's been around for what? 2 years? He hasn't been traveling around. He has not. He has not been doing. It's not like when Matt Smith was the Doctor, and when he was when Amy and Rory decided to be homebodies for a while, and he was off still doing Doctor shit.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of time passing by, or where Amy made it clear. Yeah, we've actually been hanging out with you so long. Our friends have noticed that we're getting older, and they aren't. When we come back, it's like they've noticed that time is moving for us faster. So we need to stop traveling so much with you. They make it clear that time is passing. Ruby and Shudy spent maybe a year together.
About a year. And then Belinda and them probably spent a week.
2 weeks.
Week, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
2 weeks at best.
At best.
2 weeks at best. So he literally didn't exist for more than a year and change.
Well, that is a problem that happened with RTD in his first run as well. David Tennant had no padding in time like Matt Smith did, like what you're talking about. He was the Doctor for 3 years in universe, which is such a small amount of time for the Doctor. It also fucks up his age because Sylvester McCoy, as the 7th Doctor, specifically says in Time in the Ronnie that he is 953 years old. In David Tennant's run, he says, I'm 903 years old. So, RTD's had problem with lore from the beginning. But yeah, a Doctor needs to be the Doctor for a while to justify an entire regeneration. 3 years is not enough. 2 years maybe for Shudy is not enough.
Yeah, well, we know Matt Smith, we know Capaldi. After Clara, he was off doing shit for a while before he locked Missy up in the dungeon.
Well, and we facilitated.
I was going to say, we also know Eccleston had an entire life beforehand.
Yeah, because he kept popping up in history. With that very premiere episode, it's like, I've been following this man through history.
Which is contradicted in that episode. When he's in Rose's apartment, he looks in the mirror and reacts to his ears. He's like, oh, I don't really like the ears this time around, implying that he only just became Christopher Eccleston. So there is that contradiction in the pilot. But the time with Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, I love how much time passes because it's a little much for Matt Smith, but it's justified because he's the last incarnation in the 12 regeneration cycle. But it facilitates Peter Capaldi saying, I'm old enough to be your messiah. I love that line when what was it, Bill tried, he thought Bill was flirting with him. I love that line.
So he's going to use his regeneration energy, and this is also the butchering of regeneration once again. It is now it's as though it's just something to be pulled out and used for any situation. Yeah, I can save it to heal a burn. I can use it here. There. It's regeneration is for a Gallifreyan Time Lord either reaching old age or mortally wounded so they can live on. Jeremy, you're muted.
That was my bad. I viewed it more as it wasn't regeneration. It was him tapping into his Time Lord capabilities.
It's still the same thing though.
I guess it's technically the same thing.
It's all
and
regeneration
it's
is what makes a Time Lord a Time Lord.
Yeah.
So but and he's like, and then he like Palpatines the TARDIS. He just, that is wrong for so many reasons.
And I actually blame Moffat a little bit for that. I hate regeneration energy being able to be used outside of the actual regeneration. I think the first main time that we see it is in season 7 when Matt Smith uses a little bit of it to heal River's broken arm. I fucking hate that. And then Peter Capaldi also using it to heal Davros at the beginning of season 9. A regeneration energy should not exist outside of a regeneration. So it's Moffat's fault that built up to this. But yeah, just blowing energy into the TARDIS does not give the TARDIS the ability to change all of history, even by 1 degree for the last few, like Poppy's. I mean, the lore goes back with the Belinda getting with her. Is it 15 years changed?
Everything. It changed everything.
He changed all of reality.
So now,
just for a black baby.
I want to say for this thing now, what it did is now it literally changed everything about Belinda. Remember, when we started this whole thing, she lived in a house with 2 other people that shared rent with it, okay?
And she was miserable.
And she was miserable. Yet she had to get back to her life. And we made fun of that the whole season. Why do you want to go back to your miserable life? Well, here's why. Because some point in the future, shit was already changing. And of course, she never said I have to. It kept, you notice throughout the season, she kept adding things. First, I have to go back. Then it was I have to be back by 7. Then I have to be back by 7:30. And it's like, and of course, now we see why, because things were already being affected. At least that's where we have to kind of headcanon it, because that's the only reason to explain why Poppy shows up in Nigeria and then disappears. That's the only explanation for that.
That's the timeline changing.
That's the timeline changing. It's the only explanation we have. So now, apparently, and it happened while he was juicing the TARDIS, we get clips of her talking about Poppy all the time. So now, the belligerent, and I called her belligerent for a reason since episode 1, because she was nothing belligerent, frigid bitch. Suddenly, she's just a good mom and needs to get home to her daughter.
It feels like RTD knew people were going to hate Belinda. So he did this because he needs to try to justify why the hell she's acting this way.
And you realize if Jed was right and the leaks are true that this was all rewritten, he rewrote this on the fly to fix her character because he knew she was despised by most people. There are Belinda belligerent stands out there who think she's the greatest thing ever, but she's not. She had
those people hate the ending, though. It's those people who hated the most.
They turned her into a mother. Well, how dare they?
I love this Stan tweet where it said, belligerent's character arc is basically independent working woman who is seen to reject the heteronormative and conservative idea of the nuclear family and gender roles, finishes the series lumbered with a baby from a parallel universe devised by a bigot. I fucking love that description.
I mean, it's kind of true.
Who's the
Conrad?
Conrad. Okay.
Conrad's wish. Conrad's more Poppy's daddy than the doctor is.
So he changed everything.
But don't you just love that the doctor being the first black doctor, Shooty, the child he has, he basically abandons.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that whenever they're trying to be the least racist, they always become the most racist.
And it gets worse now because then we get back and a lot, and here's a lot of it doesn't make sense too. Get more sense. So he everything time breaks and explodes, and then he wakes up in a garden, and it's the
Which
front
he's used
yard.
to probably doing.
Which I feel like that moment was trying to evoke Big Bang Part 2 when Matt Smith was getting unraveled through Amy's timeline, which actually made sense in the context. It did seem like Matt Smith would randomly wake up in places as it went on. And it's more just stealing from the past. He can't come up with his own ideas that aren't utter garbage. So he just wrecks, takes, steals, wrecks. And we didn't mention Matt Smith was actually in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Real doctors were viewed when she was looking through the time doors. Yep.
Should have just stuck with Matt Smith.
That would have been fun. Anyway, so he wakes up in the garden and Belligerent walks out, and it's not the house she started in. Very obviously not the house she started in. And we quickly learn that Poppy's back, and she lives with her parents. We only see her mom. And her parents.
I didn't know this. They announced casting for the dad. There was a casting announcement
too. Yeah, and we
never saw him.
Yeah, we never saw him. Cut out, and he was very white too. It looked like, I don't know. She another. Hang on a second. Dre, what might we have here to deal with? Where I lost it. Where'd it go?
Dre's not here.
He is here. I have him on retainer.
He's here.
Look at this half breed.
There he is. Thank you, Dre.
It did not play for me.
It didn't play for you.
I saw it. I saw
it. Wait, Dre, repeat yourself. What Belinda might be?
Look at this half breed.
Thank you, Dre. I keep Dre ready to go at the drop of a hat.
He's always in our heart.
He is always here.
He's in Adam's dungeon.
Hey, I don't have a.
I was about to say something. I can't say that word.
It's just a closet. It's not a dungeon. It's just a closet. Anyway, so
it's worse.
Good.
So
you know what? I can't say that.
We have Belligerent now reveal that she got knocked up out of wedlock, and the man and the actual father, which had to be black because Poppy
had to be.
So
the two black daddies are both
God, but she's happy, and he's still a good guy, but she's happy, and she works nights, so her parents watch him at night, and she comes up. Now, I question this 1 second. If she works nights and literally works till literally the dawn and comes home, so that because her mom has to go out at 7:30, when does she sleep?
She doesn't sleep. That's
does.
mama powers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anyone who's been around babies would know the night is the worst time for young babies because they never sleep through. It's a lot harder period to be a parent.
I was a sleeper.
You were a sleeper? Well, so she pushed off the most difficult part of being a mother to her parents.
I mean, I would sleep, but I would wake up early. Is the thing.
She's just a lazy bastard.
Yeah,
I viewed it more like you never sleep then because she also specifically said that she works nights so she can be at home around Poppy during the day.
Yeah. So when do you sleep? It's like, hi, I'm RTD. I didn't actually do research on how real people live their lives.
People need to sleep.
I took a nap this afternoon because I didn't get enough sleep last night.
I didn't get.
I was only up for 30.
But
I only fell for like 30 minutes in my chair, but it was enough to refresh me for tonight. Point is, so now everything's corrected and everything's great, and she's happy, and now she suddenly realizes that she's never going to see him again, not with this face, because he shook off the regeneration when he got out, and. After one of the most retarded goodbyes ever, and notice I didn't mention this in my review, but I was reminded of it later. He never goes to say goodbye to Ruby.
Nope,
never does. That's why it seems like she was the real companion. That's what I think it was originally designed for her as the companion.
And she just kind of gets cut right off.
Remember, there was reports that she was going to be the companion for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she wanted to be here. She got the minimum her contract would allow her to get out.
And I do want to say before he leaves, he specifically said that he doesn't want to be alone during this whole process, so he goes to a star.
So he goes into the retardus. And remember, while Jody was there, she complained at how big and empty it was. Like, well, whose fault is that? And as the lights are shutting out, he's going to open the door. But I'm not alone.
My joy.
I've got you, fat Joy to the World star.
You're saying goodbye to Joy, who was a fucking single episode person who was just fat and ate her mom.
So,
yes. Yes, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So when we were watching this episode, my wife Rachel actually had a great thought that she leaned over to me and she says, wouldn't it be hilarious if, because of the way the regeneration energy looked in that moment, he turned into a star and he'd always watch over humanity with Joy, hand in hand forever?
Oh, man.
Oh,
that would have tied into your theory that RTD was just going to end it all.
I thought it was going to happen then because, yeah, I thought he was going to end the show with finality.
Now, here is the spoiler I had because people were just spamming it everywhere, and I mistakenly
turned
a couple corners. Yeah.
Well, just in general.
Yes. He begins the regeneration, and he turns into Billy Piper Rose.
It's confusing the way it happens. The faces don't morph like we've seen pretty much every other time. Even with the old effects, the faces usually morph, except for the second to third Doctor, where we that happened in between seasons.
And also,
he vanishes, he fades away, and then she fades in. There's no transformation.
Well, I've seen a couple of things. One, first of all, I think it's kind of agreed upon that her head got green screen onto his body.
Mm-hmm.
That's agreed upon. Also, so I saw somebody dissecting it. You could still see his head behind her if you freeze the frame at the right spot.
What?
Really?
Yeah. So there was a weird thing because I took her face for my thumbnail. There was a weird thing behind her that I had to try to clean up, and it didn't make sense, and it was grabbing on. It could have been his head.
That's what people were circling. Yeah, I mean, I used one of her things well, but I cropped it because I was fitting it alongside Jody, Shooty, and Rose. So I had on there, but there's something there. So and then it's like Dr. Rose goes, "Oh, hello," and then it's over.
More fourth wall breaking.
But then it says Shooty Gatwa's the Doctor. Jodie Whittaker's the Doctor. And then it says introducing Billy Piper. It's very...
Right. I actually have screenshots of all of them. So introducing David Tennant as the Doctor. Introducing Matt Smith as the Doctor. Introducing Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. Introducing Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. And this is from the 60th. Introducing Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. And just introducing. If they just put Billy Piper, that could have been a thing because she's already been in the show, so we know what she looks like. But they specifically said,
but you do that when you have a doctor. Yeah, with the Doctor, they say introducing.
I've never noticed that before.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually maybe she isn't actually supposed to be the Doctor. Maybe they did.
Well,
and that's
the press releases. They're specifically avoiding calling her that. BBC, the production team itself, the news team is saying whatever they want, and everyone's calling her the 16th. But there's a theory out there that she's the Doctor's wife, like in that episode that Adam loved so much. That she's the TARDIS. Because the TARDIS does have a copy of Rose's brain, kind of because of their connection at the end of season 1.
That's the TARDIS. That's not the TARDIS. It was knocked out of the real.
I'm trying
TARDIS
to play by their rules. That
is their rules. It got knocked out with a hammer.
The thing is, it doesn't matter what the reality is. We know why they chose Billy Piper here.
Well, this would explain. Remember last week we were talking about how if they were going to have another Doctor, how come there wasn't a search? This would explain everything, that RTD was a lazy motherfucker and just internally grabbed one of his old favorites without telling anybody.
I slightly just I think he grabbed one of the old favorites, but I think he did it on purpose. I think they're trying to do the 60th all over again. Because what they're trying to do here...
Purpose? What purpose?
Simple. Because we're dealing with dum-dums here. Okay, we're not dealing with smart, brilliant people that can figure this shit out. When you take a look at ratings for basically, you can tell that when Jodie Whittaker ended, it was at its all-time low back then.
Back then, yeah. Then Shooty said, "Here, hold my beer."
Then they brought David Tennant in.
There was a spike. There was a spike.
Mm-hmm. There was interest. People were talking. Every single time I've ever heard anybody talk about the possibility for a third season, it was always hindered on It depends on what the fan perception is. It depends on what people are talking about. Are we discussing it positively? Do we want that season? Do we want something to continue moving forward? And then going back to David Tennant, though, you saw Spike because of David Tennant. I think they wanted to try to do the 60th all over again, bring in a fan favorite person that everybody has nostalgia for, that everybody cares about, and everybody loves. Put her into the Doctor's position, and you're gonna have it all back. You're gonna have ratings good again. They might not be great, but they're gonna come in.
It's a gimmick.
Well, here's the problem, though.
Here's the problem. It's a ploy.
Here's the problem. I mean, Jake says it right here. This is a sentiment that's been going on since it got announced. There's a lot of pushback. There's a massive amount of pushback to Billy Piper, Rose, Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants this. Nobody asked for this. And also, you're listen with both. It's happened twice before with the Doctor. You see a previous face and you take it on. But there were reasons for that, especially with Capaldi. That it was a buildup, and then the answer: "I'm the Doctor. I save people." It was fulfilling something he couldn't do back then. So now he's going to take on that face he couldn't save and save people with that face. That meant something. Taking the face of a companion, that's going down a very slippery slope. And it's like you said, it's done for nostalgia baiting. It's done to try and just trigger cheap pops, a cheap wrestling pop, for lack of a better term. It's backfired.
If the show was in a better state, I think people would have ate this up.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, everybody knows that this is all bullshit. Everybody hates.
You can smell the desperation.
You can smell the desperation. This is 100% them trying to just prey on you and profit off of what you care about the most. And everybody's seeing straight through it. The stands hate it because, well, you just replaced a black man for a white woman. You could probably paint that whole thing out, but everybody else is seeing straight through this. It's David Tennant all over again. And nobody wants Billy Piper to come out here and tell you you're fucking awful. They don't want Rose to tell you you're fucking awful for believing these certain things.
The good thing is she doesn't look like Billy Piper anymore. So
no, she's had a lot of work.
But I personally can't wait till the 20th Doctor is K9. That I'm really looking forward to that.
So leading up to all this, I mentioned this to you guys a couple days ago that there was an interview done on BBC Radio. Have you guys heard this?
You've mentioned it. I don't remember much of it.
I haven't heard it.
So let's listen to this. This is glorious.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
This is glorious. I heard Gary play this. So here we go.
That in terms of like how many people are watching and what Doctor Who represents now, I had a really interesting text. This is from Andy, who says, "I'm a guy who considers himself of the left. Most of my friends are women. Some are trans. Some are gay."
Just that. It's like, thanks for telling us that you're a queerdo. Thanks. Just thank you for.
Thank you for letting us know where your politics lie.
Gotta affirm that I'm an ally. Oh, every time they always have to tell you, don't worry, I'm an ally. Please don't destroy me in your cancel mom.
This is a modern day equivalent of I have a black friend, but
yes. Yeah, but
quite literally.
Now this is where it gets good.
But even I cringe watching an episode of Doctor Who. It's no longer a family show about space and time travel. It's literally a bunch of memes telling us that white straight men are the source of all evil in the universe. It's aimed at 12-year-old girls, but watched by a declining number of people over the age of 40. If Doctor Who is dying, it's because the BBC has killed it.
Fascinating to hear that from somebody who, ideologically speaking, this is being geared towards.
Yeah.
Fascinating. We keep going. We got another minute and a half of this.
Yes, there were always stories that had messages or storylines about the environment or the misuse of power or intolerance. But now it has just become an intolerant program condemning most of its viewers simply for existing. Now, it's interesting because I watched this 20 minutes, it was just kind of randomly on. I was pottering around, it was on. I didn't feel as strongly as Andy feels, but I did notice like the diversity of the characters, and I was just like, okay, so this one's this person, this one's this person, this one's
Jesus Christ!
Checkbox.
The people that love the checkbox from the organization that does the checkbox the most is like, yeah,
it's kind of obvious. It's getting sick.
It's pretty obvious.
All right, we got another half of this to go.
this person.
Yeah.
Fine, but I can see why Andy is saying what he's saying.
Sometimes it does feel like you're being lectured to. I think it really depends, depending on, who you are and kind of how much involved and how invested you are in this episode.
How does Doctor Who, like, the people over 40 still watching it and still wanting to relate to it in the same way? Like, you can't.
Or enjoy it. Just enjoy it and have that nostalgia. Maybe that's what Andy is saying. He feels alienated from even having that experience.
Yeah.
Derby, that speaks to what you were talking about. The desperation to nostalgia grab people who are just being disenfranchised because you're checkboxing and agenda pounding.
Well, it's not. It is checkboxing and agenda pounding, and you alienated everybody. That was one of the other reasons they decided to go over to Disney, was because they wanted to try to grab what they had again back during Matt Smith's era. How many times has Gary said that during Matt Smith's era, it was a worldwide phenomenon, and they lost it all?
They lost it completely.
They specifically said that they wanted to go to Disney because it would help them get that worldwide audience again.
Yep. Go ahead.
They're desperate.
Oh, desperation doesn't even describe them. Now let's finish this, and then I have something else I want to show you guys.
Yeah, but in the bits I have seen, I do kind of agree with him, because sometimes it does feel like you are being lectured to. I think in the few times we've had to watch it for must watch, because I never watch it by choice.
These are the people that make this for, by the way.
We don't watch it by choice either.
I would love to watch it by choice.
I would love to, but I'm not. And I when we're all done with this, I have a very cool story I'm going to tell you guys. So, but let's finish this up at the end, the very end.
I've come in and said exactly the same thing as Andy. So he's not imagining it. He's not alone. And, that I have always wondered if, how do you keep making a show if it is just lecturing at people and you're not just getting the time travel, space nonsense?
How do you make a show if it's just lecturing people?
You can't.
Well, you can if you don't care about your fans.
Well, not so. You're right, but you also have to have money.
Well, that too. Now, you heard this, and now what I'm about to show you next, I read this on Roundtable yesterday, but I wanted to.
By the way, Adam, can you send that to me?
Oh, sure. Did I just? Yeah, I'll send it to you.
You had it bookmarked, so
yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't unbookmark it, did I? No, I didn't. Now I had this. I also bookmarked this, and I read this yesterday on Roundtable, but I want to read it again here because to me, this represents the real Doctor Who fan, and it represents how it's not how we came to the Doctor, but it completely represents how we feel. So I found this, I believe, on Saturday when I was collecting stuff I was looking through things, and I thought this is gonna be fantastic. So this was posted on Saturday. Russell T. Davies, I say this to you. This is Chat Noir, clearly a Doctor Who fan, old Doctor Who fan. Russell T. Davies, I say this to you because you obviously don't know. Doctor Who was more than a show. Many of us got bullied for loving it, Many of us who didn't fit in. No, we were not gay. We were not in the wrong bodies, but we were shy, lonely, abused, and on the outside of everything. Sad. But we were included there, accepted. Every age, race, class, creed, outlook, every human being was loved by Doctor Who. That was the point. It wasn't a little sexuality and gender club with racism sprinkled over it. You took something precious as the true meaning of inclusive, something rare, truly rare, and you made it ugly and broken and false. You excluded those of us who came to it for shelter as kids. That's unforgivable. This world is better than sex and gender and race. It is humanity's world. Put the flags down. Look at that lonely old person, that awkward young person, and bring them a hero. You took him from us all. That's pretty damn powerful, if you ask me. I mean, now, I came to Doctor Who as an adult, a full adult, when I really got into it. I wasn't a kid. I saw a little bit as a kid, but I didn't connect with it because it was showed to me disjointedly, out of order. So it didn't really land with me. But as an adult where I knew what it was, I came to it, and then I realized, wow, this is a fantastic story, and it is appealing to everybody. I mean, when you read this, you could take this and stamp this on every other franchise that's been destroyed, but it means even more when it comes to Doctor Who, as we've said in the past, because Doctor Who literally came first. It is the foundation of science fiction television that we have today. Without Doctor Who, we don't have a lot of the science fiction shows, movies, anything like that. It laid the groundwork. And it literally was made for everybody before all this inclusivity bullshit was created over the past 10 years. So you read this, and I feel this lady's pain. I feel her pain. I know it's a lady because I've seen her posting stuff with her face on it, so I know it's a woman. And you get and the replies are powerful. I mean, I think it's been updated since. Yeah, these are past couple of days. But the initial replies from real fans were like, "You're absolutely right. This was taken from us, violently taken from us." And then, as she said, broken, made ugly and broken and false.
Well, like we said earlier, it wasn't broken by Russell T Davies. It was broken by Chris Chibnall. But we had Russell T Davies come in because we thought he could fix it. And instead, where treat it like a vase, okay? It was this beautiful little vase, and Chris Chibnall took a hammer to it, breaking the vase. But it was still able to be put back together. There was ways to go about doing it. Mm-hmm. But so RTD took those pieces and then decided to take it over to like a power press and just start shattering them more into dust. Because fuck you. Because he can't write anymore. Him being at his full peak is just propaganda. Mm-hmm. Him being completely unleashed upon the world is just him preaching to you. And he's openly said on multiple occasions that if you're not doing this in the modern era, then you're doing it all wrong. He likes this. He enjoys this. He wants to just preach to you all day and night. Uh-huh. And I know it's what the drinker says and what everybody else says over and over again, but it's the truth. He's an adherent to, he's a follower of the message. That's all he fucking cares about.
At this point, yeah. I mean, Jed, you've said in the past that this may be a result of him being a broken man after his husband died.
Yeah, I don't know enough details about that, but it is a tragedy from what I understand. Before that, he was a relatively normal man, and you never know what grief is going to do to people. And it's sad to see someone who I could have looked up to as a great hero, great role model for me in terms of writing, turn into this because of a personal tragedy. I don't know if any of that's true. That's just a theory.
It's a wonder, yeah, but
it's a wonder. Something changed. He is not the same man. I know a lot of people like to say that he was always this man and that he was only held in check, and that's the only reason why the original show was good. But you can't be this devoid of talent today without a leash and still write good stuff with supervision there. The core of talent has to exist because a studio oversight can't make you a good writer. It can curve your worst impulses, sure, but it can't create creativity out of nothing. So there was a talented man at one point.
You either have the nugget or you don't.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this. Like, yes, during RTD's first run, a lot of the fan favorite episodes weren't written by him, but that doesn't mean like still he had really good episodes during his first run.
And he was the show.
Yeah, he had some stinky episodes, but he had some good episodes as well that people still liked. Yeah, they might like Blink a whole lot more than I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but I can't think of one. Probably Blink over Midnight, even though I think Midnight's better than Blink personally. But let's just say that like people might like Blink over Midnight, but Midnight's still loved. Like we're talking gradients of like we're eking out what might be better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, and Jay Fraser brings a point. Moffat also has blame in this because
Oh, 100%. He's still writing for the show. Joy to the World is his baby.
Yeah, remember, that too. I'll tell you where I was going to go next with this. I mean, Moffat did put us on the track with very, very shaky writing for Capaldi's latter seasons. He was not at his strong anymore. He was mailing it in. Like Jeremy said, the only thing held it up was Capaldi was giving it 110%. But Moffat signed off on everything they did by writing for these 2 seasons. He wrote episodes, and he made it worse.
He did.
He was one of the people that could have saved this in the future, but he is as tainted as anybody in all of this. And it's sad. So we come to this point now where hiatus, wilderness, as Jed put it, wilderness years. Do we think this comes back?
At best, the leaks about being on hiatus for 2 years are true. I think that is the best case scenario where they take a few years off, only a couple of years off, and try to come back strong. It needs to be at least a decade, in my opinion. Wilderness Years Part 2 needs to be at least 10 years for any chance of it coming back good. But best case scenario, I say 2 years.
But
part of me really wants to say that part of me wants to say that because of the reaction to Rose, because of the viewership data, because when you look at the overnights are only 0.15 higher than the season premiere, which that's not good. And also when you take into account the only other episode that was higher was Intergalactic Space Contest, and when you actually
that's a lot of extenuating circumstances there.
Yeah, and if you take into account what the consolidated numbers actually end up showing you, it only had a 0.7 increase, so it's not actually that impressive. When you look at what's going on here, and I'll even take what that lady said, there's no real justification to continue this. The numbers aren't there. You don't have the backing. You don't have the funding. The fans are already turning on the people who are supposed to love your shit. The stands are turning on you. Nobody.
They're fighting with each other. They're doing what Disney Star Wars is doing now. They're all fighting with each other because you didn't actually produce a product. You created consumer slop to appease certain demographics.
The logical side of me would say any normal person would say, fuck it, we're not bringing it back, no matter what. Give it 10 years, maybe.
Well,
the problem I have is we know how desperate they are. They brought Rose back to be desperate. They brought her back just for that because they want to get the David Tennant thing.
Well,
I part of me thinks they're going to try.
Nothing matters unless they retcon the timeless children. It doesn't matter how many new doctors they bring aboard. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter how nostalgic I get. Nothing matters unless somebody has big enough balls to come in and say, I'm going to retcon the timeless children. They said timey-wimey in this fucking episode. Use it. Timey-wimey this shit. Retcon it. We have said that between us, the chat, real fans out there, we have said numerous ways how easy it is to just blip this thing away and set us back on course. And by doing that, you would say Jodie never existed. Shooting never existed. Fugitive Doctor never existed. And guess what? As Dermy just pointed out, the such small people watch this, the 2 million people at best that still watch this. You lose them, you're not losing anything. You get back the 10 to 20 million people that would happily come back and watch this. And I don't want to hear, and Jed, because I know you showed us one of them. I don't want to hear the chin ball era people going, the Jodie era. This has brought out the Jodie era people going, see, our era was really good. No, it wasn't. It was just a different type of dog shit. That's all it was. Still shit. So there is no way back unless you fix it. No matter how long they take a break, unless they come back and somebody says Timeless Children is gone. You don't save anything. We're still exactly where we left off with a ruined, broken franchise. I don't think I'm wrong.
Well, you're not wrong. But they're not going to do it. I'm sorry. Nobody has the balls to fucking do it, even though everybody's making fun of it because it's all dumb. Even the BBC's saying it's stupid and retarded right now. They're not going to do shit with it. But that goes over to the other point. Like, even the BBC is saying that this is awful.
Yeah.
Would they even justify? Even your own people are saying this is bad. How can you justify continuing this? I really don't know. Like, part of me really wants to say they're just going to cancel it, but at the same time, you don't bring Billy Piper back for no reason. You're trying something here.
It's a desperation move. You're trying to get part of the things that, well, it makes perfect sense. Let's bring back one of the original catalysts that made this pop when it came back, Billy Piper, who became massively fan favorite for her performances of Rose for two different doctors. Let's bring her back. And then, of course, I mean, everybody loved it when she came in as the Moment in the 50th. That was just, whew. It was like, oh, it's Rose. No, it's not Rose. It's not Rose.
I really appreciate how they did that because they didn't have to undo Rose's ending to have her come back, which should have been the way they addressed things with Catherine Tate and Donna. You don't undo the companion's ending, no matter how bittersweet they are. And Moffat should have done that as well because Heaven Bent undoes a good ending for Clara, having her die facing the Raven. You don't undo companion endings. That just cheapens everything. It goes into the same realm that comics and the MCU is about to get into, where nothing matters. There are no stakes if you can just multiverse yourself up a new Tony Stark or anything like that. Stakes are irrelevant. Emotional investment is pointless. And the saddest moments are what define this series, just like any other franchise. Without the saddest moments, the happy moments don't mean anything. So it just becomes bland nothingness if you can if you can just undo all the horrible things that have happened.
Yep.
Blasphemy, Mudcrab, blasphemy.
Now, but that's it. That's it. We're done. But we're not done. We're not done. No, because now we can close the book on this. And we can go back and celebrate real Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we tried to get this done before the season started, but a lot of things kind of fell apart. Might not be next week, might not be week after that, but very soon, as soon as we can, there will be the return of. We've only got one episode of it, but it's a regularly rotating stream. I'll do once every couple months. Nerdgasm will return, and we will be talking at least for the first part, because these type of things take multiple parts because we go down rabbit holes and we don't get to talk about a lot of things. We will be doing our first Nerdgasm discussion of real Doctor Who from Hartnell to Capaldi. We're only allowed to talk about good stuff. That's all we're allowed to talk about. We're going to have a good time. We just have to work out the scheduling of it, have that. But I also got a little small story. I'm going to share this with you guys. And it just started it only happened yesterday. So my mom watches my content. Okay. She watches my content. She knows what I talk about. And she asked me.
Hi, Mama Ren Nerd.
She asked me, what is Doctor Who yesterday? And I said, well, I did try to show it to you once before, and you didn't want to watch it. And I tried showing her New Who like 5-7 years ago. She wasn't into it then. Different period of time, though. She says, well, I've been listening to what you were talking about. I've been hearing you talk about it. And I saw some of it pop up on Tubi because now she's watching Tubi because it's just, there's a whole bunch of classic sections. Yeah, it's very easy for her to find stuff because she's watched her own movie collection so much she doesn't want to go back into it. So she's watched on, but she spotted some classic Who, and she said, "What should I do?" And I said, "Well, what'd you see on there?" So I wasn't sure. I think it was what you call classic Who. I said, "Well, you want to watch it?" I said, "Yeah." But then I started telling her. She asked me who was the Doctor, and I gave her the rundown of William Hartnell as the first Doctor. And then I said, here, I have an idea for you. And I want you guys to know, I want your opinion if it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea. I said to her, listen, because she loves knowing the history of things. She's a history buff. I said, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get you the first Dr. Hartnell special from the 50th. And I'm going to show her that first to get her primed. And then whatever she finds on Tubi, well, I'm going to see what it is first. I'm hoping it's some Tom Baker. I'd like to get her, if she's going to go in first, I'd like her to get in with some Tom Baker first or something like that. And then after she's watched it a bit, if it is clicking, then I will run her through New Who, no problem. But what do you think about that? Do you think it's a good idea for me to show her the Hartnell special from the 50th? Because that's so good. It's
Probably,
in
actually.
her case, yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
in her
recommend
case.
that for the majority of
No,
people, but
no.
from what you're describing, that does make sense. And I think she could probably start with William Hartnell. I think she could pull it off and just go through the whole thing. But yeah, that's an easy way to get into it because it gives you the background and sets up the regeneration in.
I already
William
explained.
Hartnell
I
had to-
already explained
Yeah.
that to her. So.
But that's one of the beautiful things about Doctor Who is once you understand the basic concept of the show, alien with two hearts who can change his face, traveling through space and time in a police box that's bigger on the inside. Once you get your head around that, you can start with almost any Doctor and know what's going on for the most part. So people can start in the Fourth Doctor. I usually like to customize it like you're talking about for every new fan of Doctor Who. Try to find individual episodes that they'll like, and then New Who is usually because it's easier for these people. A lot of people will never watch black and white stuff. That's just something
my
that I've
mom's a
found.
cinephile,
It's a
so
Right.
culture shock.
That's why I think it makes a lot of sense for her to start with William Hartnell. But that's one of the beauties of Doctor Who is there's a lot of great places to start. And as long as you get the basic premise, you're not necessarily all that lost.
I mean, because what she did is as soon as I told her William Hartnell was, she went up and looked to see what he was in, and now she knows that he was in acting for a long time, acting along people that she's seen. So now she's curious if she's seen him in anything before that. So that's why I think it appeals to her to give her the history lesson first of who William Hartnell was in the history of the Doctor, because then she'll feel really connected to it because she loves that kind of stuff. How things are made. Before I go any further, I assume Dermy, this is yours.
Yeah, this is mine. From Raichu, on a lighter note, which companion would you guys would want to hook up with the most if you had the chance? I already answered. It's
Amy.
between Rose.
Amy, hands down.
It's always
Amy.
between Rose or Amy.
Amy, hands down.
New Who wise, absolutely Amy. Yeah, Karen Gillan is just smoking hot, and she's fun. I feel like you'd have a lot of fun with Amy. But when it comes to Classic Who, this might be an unpopular opinion, but Romana 1. I prefer Romana 1 to over Romana 2, and Romana 1's got some sass to her. Like that's a mature woman who's going to have some fun.
I say it's between Rose and Amy. Amy for hands down obvious reasons, but Rose helped me get through high school a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
And Billy Piper might have had some work done. But
all I know is that
clapped him cheeks.
All I know is that Karen Gillan is still looking good right now.
She looks right. You
had a
should
kid
watch
too.
a
She's had
Diary
a
of a
kid
Call
too,
Girl, Dermy.
I
watched
Diary
Penny
of a Call
Dreadful.
Girl. And I saw Penny Dreadful too. I didn't like Penny Dreadful.
Penny Dreadful it takes some getting into, and it's a little slow. But I mean, Billy Piper.
When they started turning people gay, I just like that. I can't take this anymore. They started turning everybody gay in that one. I was like, that's
but Billy Piper full frontal.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it. I'm still taking Karen Gillan. Amy.
Ooh, Wiley Dave. Leela is a good choice. Do you guys know about Leela?
No.
She's kind of the cave woman companion where she's wearing basically a loincloth and has a knife, and she's like the fighting companion. She's basically a cave woman who's traveling with the Doctor, and she is skimpy, sexy.
For me, a second, Alex Kingston, River. I'd do some. She knows how to turn the knob. So I mean, River's into some kinky shit. You have a good time, River. And Alex Kingston was smoking hot in her prime. She was. I watched her on ER, so I already was familiar with Alex Kingston before she appeared as River. So
I should also throw mud. I have to say this also. Millie Gibson. That's because those.
Oh well,
those are good.
See, we're talking real Who. This Millie
okay,
Gibson,
that's fair, but
we're talking real Who. Millie Gibson. Yeah, I'm not throwing. I'm opening the door and ushering her into my room. Definitely.
Now, I don't know what you guys. I don't know what you guys think about Astrid from Voyage of the Damned. That maid outfit.
Yeah.
She was a one-off, but still technically a companion.
Help cleaning my room.
Sarah Jane's too sweet. I can't.
I was
like
introduced to Sarah Jane through New Who, so I look at her as a maternal figure. But yeah, when you go back to the Pertwee and Baker era that she's in, she's pretty hot. She's pretty cute. But
listen, Mudcrab chose both Belinda and Yaz. Let's be real fair here.
Jenna Coleman needs a gag.
I'm being a dick. He actually chose Liz Shaw.
That's a good choice as well.
All right, so
the Third Doctor's era doesn't get enough love, in my opinion. He's my favorite classic Doctor.
Fantastic. Pertwee is fantastic. Also, because the most interesting thing is that Pertwee, because of reasons, it was on Earth, so it's like just
for the first part of it.
Yeah.
Martha's a good one.
Martha never really did it for me. I'm not going to throw her out of bed, but she didn't do it for me.
If you like her, you like her.
Yeah. Okay, let me check stream elements, make sure nothing's there. Okay, we're good. All right, guys. With that being said, we're going to close the doors to the TARDIS, lock it up, and put it away. Unless something else happens, this
I hate to say that
show is done.
Kind of want to throw a Molotov cocktail in it as well and walk away.
Well, this is our TARDIS. We're not going to blow up our TARDIS.
Our TARDIS.
Are either of you guys going to watch the War Between the Land and the Sea?
You're making me.
I'm not making you.
Yes, you are. You're making me.
This sounds like you're dragging your own leash. I haven't even decided if I'm watching it.
I thought you were doing it and making me do it. I thought
no.
Not unless you make me. Not unless you make me.
Just I don't think anyone gives a shit. They're doing Sirens of the Deep. It's a Little Mermaid with sexy sea devils. You don't want sexy sea devils.
I might watch episode 1. I don't know if I'll do a review just to.
No,
I don't even know if I can watch
gauge if I could. I might watch that first episode just to gauge, can I do anything with this, or am I just gonna laugh the entire time and think it's retarded?
I might tune into the first episode, but it's not going to be an immediate I gotta watch it for this stream or anything like it for this season. It's if I get around to it.
It's a Witcher situation. You'd have to make me.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it by my free will. You don't. No, I don't do anything you say.
What about if I gave you a cookie?
I could bake my own cookies.
What if I gave you a Dermy cookie?
Oh, all right. We're gonna end the show.
Well, there is one last thing I want to, or a two-part last thing with this episode I want to mention. We could just go quickly through the New Who. We'll just do New Who for simplicity's sake.
Okay.
Reasons for regeneration. We've got 9 sacrificing himself, taking in the vortex energy to save Rose.
Yes.
Good ending. 10 absorbing a bunch of radiation to save Wilfred Mott. Great. We've got Matt Smith dying of old age. We've got Peter Capaldi. His cause of death is a little bit iffy. What was the exact moment? There's a lot of different. Was it the crash?
He was holding on. He was holding on for a while.
He was holding on for a while. So, some people say it's the crash, when they were crashing through the ceiling and Bill had to carry him out. But regardless, it's in a conflict against the Masters and Cybermen. A war to save these people,
and also then to save the First Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the end, yes.
Yeah.
And then we've got Jodie, who gets a laser beam to the face for some reason. And then we have 14, who just does it for some reason. What was it? I can't even remember. The Toymaker just said it happened.
Oh, no, he shot him with a laser.
He shot him with a laser, too.
The same.
It was another laser beam.
One of the same lasers that they were using at the Bone.
Okay. So, it was another laser beam. But Shudigawa, he Minecrafts himself to make his companion a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
All the other ones, even Jodie to a certain extent, and the 14, they died saving people or in conflict.
That's
joy to the world.
Couldn't handle being dad that much.
He died to make his companion a single mom.
He hated having a kid that much that he would rather rewrite history to make sure his DNA ain't in it.
Yeah,
and I just wanted to point that out because I think it's hilarious.
It is,
but things that weren't resolved in this episode. There's a list here.
Okay,
go. They resolved the robot revolution one by throwing the certificate out the TARDIS doors in this episode,
so they could find it in space.
Which it doesn't align. You'd have to be so precise to make the robots pick it up at the right moment. It would take more than just throwing it in the space above Earth.
Listen, everything was just retarded. I
It's true.
completely forgot to.
Why can Mrs. Flood break the fourth wall like we saw at the end of the last season? Never explained. Who's the boss? How did Rogue
Samantha.
How did Rogue contact the Doctor from the Hell Dimension to say tables don't do that? The Master, we forgot about the Master is in a tooth right now that some
Yes.
lady picked up that we don't know who the lady is. That's one of the biggest ones from the RTD2 era.
Yeah.
Why Ruby can remember things in 73 Yards and Wish World? Because you remember as part
And
of
she
the 70.
referenced Flood referenced 73 yards, and Ruby's like, "What? What?" Okay.
And then Dermy's personal favorite, why the TARDIS blew up in Interstellar Song Contest. And then Susan. I think the only thing it wrapped up in this episode was changing by regeneration.
Changing by regeneration and
Ronnie. Because Omega doesn't count because he was set up in this story. So yeah, Ronnie being an antagonist and by regeneration got a new explanation. That's what was explained.
That and also the paper.
Oh yeah, we'll give him that. That's like a half point, but yeah, we'll give him 3.
Yeah. There's still, again, why was it snowing when Ruby was important? Technically, what the doctor,
what was causing the snow? Yeah,
the Doctor did say Belinda was super important. He was sent to go find her. Yes, it could have been Conrad, but there was other implications that somebody else told him to go find her, and that they were going to try to figure out why he saw her throughout time as Monday
because of Poppy.
Oh,
and
and
it breaks reality that there's a baby Time Lord.
When during Robot Revolution, when he pulled her out of time and helped her, apparently he went through her whole timeline and saved her from getting run over by a car.
Do you know what that?
Drop that in there. What the hell?
Yeah, from what we saw in that episode, he just watched her whole life, wasn't actually there. But that reminded me, of Clara saving the Doctor in every moment in his time stream, but it also reminded me of Matt Smith going through Amy's timeline. It was stealing from a lot of different things. And it also reminds me of Matt Smith going through Clara's timeline, trying to see what's weird about her, why she's so special, and he interacted with Clara's parents.
Creative bankruptcy.
Absolutely.
But we are done. This particular show, Doctor Who Cares Reviews, has served its purpose. We didn't care about Shooty Who. We cared about real Doctor Who.
I even tried to give it props when I thought it needed props.
And you failed. Because you can't shine shit, Dermy.
Well, I mean, it was still shit, but I was at least saying, hey, this was at least tolerable.
If you try to shine shit, you're just gonna get shit on the rag. You still got shit. Still got shit. Anyway, so thank you to both Jed and Dermy for joining this. Originally, it was me and Dermy, and then we kind of made Jed do it. And then he decided to stay.
Listen, I bullied him because he bullies me into watching freaking The Witcher.
This is worse than The Witcher. I'm the one who suffers in The Witcher streams, not you guys, because I'm actually a book fan.
Yeah, ready for season 4?
No. I'm so ready.
God,
at least
that
they'll come out back to back. Yeah, at least those are coming out back to back, so it'll be over sooner.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you guys. Any parting thoughts, guys, before we close the book on this stream, likely forever?
I'm gonna say, at least keep our keys close.
I don't need a key. There we go. Hands sweaty.
I'm gonna at least put my key in my drawer just in case, because I feel I think it's over, but there's something telling me they're gonna try something.
Well, I'm not gonna delete the thumbnail. I'll keep it around.
It's still a good thumbnail.
Oh, it's a great thumbnail.
It's a good
I
thumbnail.
love the thumbnail. It's one of the most one of the thumbnails I'm most proud of that I've made.
Especially me with my butt plug.
I think it's time for my yearly Classic Who rewatch, especially with the homework I had to do for these with the Ronnie and Omega. It got me excited about Classic Who again, especially the Third Doctor's era. Just the Third Doctor with the Brigadier. The Brigadier is such a great character. Stop touching him. Stop diddling him. Stop doing what you're doing with Kate. Brigadier's fantastic.
I want to watch some Capaldi right now, just because I want to hear his speeches.
I want to go. I want to go watch some Eccleston and Tennant.
Anyway, so thank you everybody across all of our channels for joining us for our first run and for this run. You guys are made it possible by showing up, chatting with us. We don't always interact with you, but you guys know how a panel show sometimes goes. We got to keep the flow going. We try to make sure we get you in here when we can, but you guys stuck around. You had a lot of fun. You've made it enjoyable to know that we weren't just talking to ourselves, that we were talking to you guys, and you shared the misery with us. You watched our reviews because we watched it for you. Despite our pain, we did have fun doing this, and we would gladly do it again because you guys are having fun with us ripping on this shit.
What I will say is what this show does make me want to do is go back and watch Good Who.
Yeah.
Always reminds me of the good shit. Always reminds me of the stuff that we care about the most, and bringing that stuff up when we do these reviews or even talking about like the good stuff, it tells people that we were actual fans.
Mm-hmm. And we will be fans because, as I said, might not be next week, may even be just the following week. Then we are going to soon schedule a Nerdgasm for our first real Doctor Who discussion. Jed will probably be there. Durham probably be there. A couple other people will probably be there. It's going to be an open invitation to people who want to join us, where we just sit back and for a couple of hours talk about what we love about an IP or franchise. And in this case, it will be Doctor Who. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope you have a good rest of your... Excuse me, trying to get out of here and I burp. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have a good night or day wherever you may be. And yes, there will be no Mel Mondays tonight because we've more than eaten into its time slot. But this was an extra long discussion we had to have. And we'll be back. I'll be back next week with the normal stream schedule. I get my weekends back from freaking Shooty finally. I can take a break and I don't have to rush crap out for the weekend. So we'll be back to normal stuff next week. So thank you guys for watching. Hit those like buttons, subscribe to the channels, and we'll see you on the next live stream or video. Until then, guys, take it easy, everybody.